Greenland receives J.D. Vance. The Economia por Trump. Greenland receives J.D. Vance. Interviewing a Cuban doctor later about Cuban healthcare. And also talking to Elon's estranged daughter, Vivian. Get in now. There's also a major earthquake that took place that was incredibly violent and horrible and horrifying. We'll talk about that as well. Have I watched Mo on Netflix? No, my brother loves the show though.
United States of America.
Anyway, yeah, JD Dunst is taking questions in Greenland right now, and we'll cover that right now. We'll go to JD Jedediah Vance right now. As I blast off, you can let the people know, but here we are.
Do you see specific threats coming from China and Russia, things that you did not know about before? Are we talking battleships, icebreakers, any type of military equipment, or is it economic?
Well, I don't want to get too specific, but yes, we know that the Chinese are very, very interested in this island. We've seen some of the economic pressures that they've tried to place on Greenland. We know that they're increasingly engaging in military training and military interest. Certainly, they've started to describe themselves as a near Arctic power, and I think part of that is justifying taking a further...
Where's the suit, bitch? Why aren't you wearing a suit? Disrespectful, showing your titties like that? Who the hell do you think you are? He thinks he's Zell Disney, bro.
It's a beautiful place. It has incredible people. It has its geographic placement makes it very important for the national security of the United States, but for world security. What we have to recognize is that if the Chinese and the Russians are going to pursue their national interest, we need a president who's going to pursue the American national interest, and that means ensuring that Greenland is safe.
When can we expect an update on the internal investigation into that signal chat leak? Has that investigation concluded, and what are the findings?
I think we'll get an update soon. Look, we take it very seriously. We all accept that a journalist should not have been invited into the chat, and members of the administration, including my dear friend Mike, have taken responsibility for it. I find the American media's obsession with this issue very, very interesting, because I happen to remember about 4 years ago when American military leadership made a catastrophic error that got 13 innocent Americans killed in Afghanistan and had about $80 billion of military equipment turned over to one of the worst terrorist organizations in the world. And for years, the American media
our best soldiers, Chad. It killed our best soldiers. No better soldiers than the ones that they killed.
That was meaningful and substantive about what happened. And now the same American media that covered for the Biden administration after the untimely death and the unnecessary death of 13 brave Americans is really, really interested in forcing
67 brave American warriors in Afghanistan were killed under the Trump administration, only 13 under the Brandon. I'm going to go ahead and say maybe pulling out was the right idea, you know?
You've got another thing coming. President Trump has said it on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, and I'm the vice president saying it here on Friday. We are standing behind our entire national security team.
Can I just ask you about
go ahead.
The tariffs? There's been some retaliation, some signals at least in the media that Canada's going to respond. Some of these others are going to respond to the president's tariffs. What's your message for Americans that are going to see costs increase on auto manufacturing, new cars, that kind of thing? Is it Buy America, or what's the message going forward there?
Well, let me say a couple of things. First of all, for the Canadians, and we have many dear friends in Canada, and of course we love the Canadian people, but the Canadian leadership threatening retaliatory tariffs against the United States, as President Trump often says, they just don't have the cards. There is no way that Canada can win a trade war with the United States. What President Trump has said is that he wants to level the playing field. For decades, Canadian leadership has forced American farmers and American manufacturers to play by an unfair set of rules. All President Trump has said is that we're done playing by an unfair set of rules. If you're going to do something to our industries, then we're going to do something back to your industries. That's how you protect American manufacturing, and that's how you protect American jobs. Now, what I'd say to the American people is look, the president ran on this, and he said very clearly that we're done being the piggy bank of the entire world. For 40 years, in the same way that our European friends, I think, have neglected international security, For 40 years, a lot of our friends all over the world have used America as a piggy bank. They have used us to absorb all of their excess economic production. What does that mean for Americans? For Americans, that's meant manufacturing jobs declining. That's meant middle-class wages going down. That's meant whole towns that have been hollowed out by empty factories, and that means an America that is less safe because our manufacturing isn't as powerful now
You know
as
what's
it was 30
ironic?
years ago. I've got all these brave
He's not
Americans
wrong
in
about
front of
this
me
point.
and a few behind
I
me.
hate that it's these guys that are making this point, because he's literally not wrong about, I mean, he's angling it with like xenophobic, hyper-nationalistic, isolationist attitudes, but he's not wrong about manufacturing being shipped overseas and what that did to the middle class. It's just that this administration is directly antagonistic to labor as well. It's not like they're anti-business and pro-labor, and they're framing this not on the virtue of like bringing jobs back to the United States of America so that we can have a robust labor movement here, so we can have American workers succeed financially with one job like it used to be in the greatest days, in the glory days, in the post-World War II boom in America. But instead, it's just like, we need to punish these allies. We need to punish them for the deals that we signed with them at the behest of our capital owners. And we're still going to do a downward pressure on labor regardless of what we are doing with manufacturing. As H. Bizzle is chirping about in the chat, this admin is doing obvious, directly antagonistic things against labor unions, which is expected. I mean, this is going to be a very anti-labor administration. H. Bizzle screaming in the chat, going, he's a boomer. That's the reason why he uses all caps. We'll be discussing the largest attack on organized labor in U.S. history, occurring last night with Trump stealing bargaining rights from over 1 million federal workers. This is yet another great example of like what the Trump administration is doing. Yes, I acknowledge your chat. We will talk about that as well. He just robbed like 1 million plus federal workers and their right to engage in work stoppages, expanding on like key sectors and their ability to do collective bargaining.
But he's talking about taking over Greenland. But your rhetoric today is more about encouraging the Greenlandic people to vote for independence. Do you think the rhetoric has changed about that, or what's your message there?
No, I don't think it's changed at all. Look, the president has said clearly he doesn't think that military force is going to be necessary, but he absolutely believes that Greenland is an important part of the security, not just of the United States, but of the world, and of course the people of Greenland too. It's very simple. I think the president's been very consistent here from his State of the Union, from his inaugural address, and every public statement that he's made. This territory, Greenland, really matters for the security of the United States. It's extremely vulnerable right now, and if the people of Greenland were willing to partner with the United States, and I think that they ultimately will partner with the United States, we could make them much more secure, we could do a lot more protection, and I think they'd fare a lot better economically as well. This has to happen. And the reason it has to happen, I hate to say it, is because our friends in Denmark have not done their job in keeping this area safe. They just haven't done it. It's very simple for all of our friends in the American media.
Dude,
to attack
it's awesome.
the administration
I
for
love
pointing out
this
the obvious.
shit.
What is
Oh, where are you at now, libtards? Go ahead. Tell me how. Go ahead.
China to Russia?
Tell me how this is different, you know? I mean, I like this because personally, they just say it out loud and they do it in such a stupid way. But like, this isn't all that different from the exact same rhetoric you would hear from the Biden administration either. Like, obviously, they wouldn't talk about like annexing Greenland. You know, they move the needle in the rightward direction even further. But, you know, the messaging is identical. It's like, oh, we got safety concerns. We're going to defend them. They clearly can't defend themselves. Safe from what? We are the #1 violent country. What do you mean safety?
Through self-determination to become independent of Denmark, and then we're going to have conversations with the people of Greenland.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I said exactly the method that they were going to utilize and the messaging that they were going to utilize literally, what, 3 months ago when they first said this? Remember when they first talked about annexing Greenland? I told you, like, this is exactly point by point what they're going to say and do. We are going to liberate Greenland from the colonizers.
You spoke about economic interests, how the U.S. could develop Greenland more economically. Could you speak a little bit more about that? I know Secretary Wright is here. Have you guys spoken about energy? Senator Lee is here as well. Just wondering what those discussions have been like.
My point actually is that other countries have explicitly gone after Greenland, and I think with a mind towards economic exploitation. Sometimes asking Greenland to get itself into terrible economic debt traps that would make the people of Greenland not self-determined and sovereign, but to mortgage their future to hostile foreign countries that don't have their best interests at heart. That is not what the United States of America wants to do. What we want to do is to protect the security of this territory because it matters for us and it matters for the people who live here. All right, guys, thank you all. And let me just say one more final word to the Guardians, the Airmen, the other service members gathered here. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, it is incredible to be a vice president who has served just as our NSA, Mike Waltz, has served, to know the sacrifice that comes along with it, and to see that there are still incredible young Americans willing to put on the uniform and serve this country. You make America a better place, and you make an honor to serve as your vice president. God bless you guys. Thanks for having me.
How sad do you think Mike Waltz is that he had to unfollow one of his favorite Twitter accounts, which is like Big Dick Homosexuals or whatever it's called? Like, how sad do you think he is? What is the account that he follows or used to follow until Dan Cohen called him out for it? Mickey Waltz. Oh, Big Dick Bottom. Big Dick Bottom. A man of culture. A man of culture. Okay. And yes, if you want to understand what these psychos are, if you want to figure out whether or not these psychos are being sincere when they say they want to take Greenland, here is the Donald Trump ad that came out about invading Greenland.
Cold silence of the tundra, a bond was born, not from treaties or trade, but from blood and bravery. While Germany controlled Europe, the Nazis set their sights on the Arctic. Greenland became an unwitting combatant, and the United States stepped in, not to conquer, but to protect.
You know what's funny about this? Like, well, one, obviously Trump is a Nazi. I mean, they're doing Nazi-ass shit, right? Ironically enough, including the annexation of Greenland. And it would be really funny if the reasons why they were doing it was not to become like not to use it as like an unsinkable aircraft carrier against China or Russia or whatever, but instead also for the same esoteric neo-Nazi reasons that Adolf Hitler wanted to go, like, I don't know, find Santa Claus in the North Pole and then somehow tie that back to like this made-up Aryan mythology. Donald Trump is also doing expeditions in the North Pole so he can find fucking space portals that he can associate with this fake American mythology. Very cool. Very cool. They're just, you know, everything that's old is new again. Sick. Ay, ay, ay.
In 1943, nearly 1,000 American soldiers with 4 chaplains set sail from New York to Greenland.
Yeah, Donald Trump is restarting the search for Thor's hammer. By the way, this is not a joke. Like, there were a lot of, like, this is not, Indiana Jones didn't make up the concept of Nazis actively doing digs to find ancient relics, specifically to tie back to some completely made up like Aryan history, or you know, they were very interested in doing these sorts of digs specifically so they could find artifacts that they thought had tremendous power. Yeah, the occult Nazi operations were very much real. A lot of weird occult archaeology. Hello, is AOC coming on stream today? No, what? Do you think I just have AOC on every day? What do you mean?
Carrying with them hope, duty, and a quiet fear. But their ship was torpedoed by a Nazi U-boat, and the frigid waters of the North Atlantic became a grave. Those 4 chaplains gave up their life vests, giving their lives so that others might live, to protect America and Greenland. Their sacrifices helped win our freedom, and we will never forget. Together, America.
Okay, if Nazis are hitting American boats and killing chaplains or whatever, and that requires us to fight them, what do we do about Israel? Like, I guess we should annex Israel then militarily. Like, what is this? What is this statement here? That's 4 chaplains. I mean, I'm not even like, even outside of USS Liberty, okay, Israel is killing American civilians at a rapid clip with regular frequency. So what do we do then? I guess we have to annex Israel now. I guess you can't really annex. It's like saying we need to annex Mississippi, you know? Like, I don't know why you would annex a country that is already a vestige.
Americans and Greenlanders stood as sentinels at the top of the world. But today, Greenland faces new threats from Russian aggression and Chinese expansion. Our shared legacy lives on in every joint mission, every Arctic patrol, every partnership forged in the shadow of melting ice and rising tensions. This is not just history, it is destiny. Now is the
manifesting it. I'm manifesting destiny. Yeah, cool. Yeah, based.
Time to stand together again.
Yeah.
For peace, for security, for the future. America stands with Greenland.
Based. Oh, yeah. It's common sense. We got to take them. Common sense, chat. Not so common, but it's common again. Yeah. That's sponsored, too. My man took out a straight up ad, dude. What the heck is going on? Holy moly. If I know anything about the Macy's, probably put that DW video. Oh, damn, he missed it. Okay. Well, I got it in here.
Vance and his wife Usha Vance on a visit to Greenland as President Trump insists that its territory should become part of the U.S. Our senior national correspondent Terry Moran is on the scene there for us in Greenland. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Lindsay. Well, Vice President Vance arrives at that American airbase this afternoon, and people are rattled. A lot of people laughed.
What is going on, man? What is going on? They ain't got internet out there, bro. Let him be. They don't even got internet, dude. Let him be, bro. Leave him alone. What are we doing? Oh, my Lord. God. Hassan, stream quality. How dare you, dude? My stream quality is excellent. Everything about this is stupid. I don't know what to say, where to begin, how stupid this is, how awful this is. It's just every part of this sucks. What is this? Let's go Knicks? I don't care.
Declared that the U.S. will take over Greenland. Now they know he's serious, and many see this trip as anything but friendly. This morning, Vice President J.D. Vance and the Second Lady will touch down in Greenland for a trip that's seen here as far more than a friendly visit. Vance's trip to a U.S. Space Force base in the far north of Greenland comes as President Trump makes clear the U.S. aims to take control here.
We need Greenland for national security and international security. So I think we'll go as far as we have to go. We need Greenland.
Greenland is an independent territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. Rich in rare earth minerals, the island is also strategically positioned to counter rivals like Russia and China, who have both been building up a military presence in the Arctic.
The world needs us to have Greenland, including Denmark.
Yeah, the world definitely needs us to have Greenland. Yeah, the world is aching for Donald Trump to militarily annex Greenland. Everyone's like, man, this would be so much better. They're looking at Greenland going, it would be so sick if America invaded. Yeah, it's cool. They're crying for it. A child crying in the store that their parent won't buy them a toy. Dude, I think we are going to see stuff like this way more frequently. I'm Danish, and there's no way y'all get Greenland. Big Dong can't just keep repeating it to make it true. Lamau, he's going to look more and more like a loser for not getting his way. We'll see, man. I don't know. It's just like, the problem is at a certain point, and I've said this before, when soft power falls apart and it's all hard power, people are going to turn around and say, okay, this seems a lot like you're militarily invading us. Security partnerships, 800 military bases that have been crafted through security partnerships will turn into 800 different military invasions. That's unsustainable. That is unsustainable. So the more they do stuff like this, there's gonna come a point where people say, enough's enough. Okay, we're done. We're done with this. They are going to try and do everything they can to stop this from happening. All I see in the future for American foreign policy and in general is just is more instability, more global instability.
Denmark has to have us have Greenland, and we'll see what happens. But if we don't have Greenland, we can't have great international security.
Trump has repeatedly raised the possibility of purchasing Greenland or taking it over, quote, one way or the other. The Danish prime minister firing back, saying Greenland belongs to Greenlanders. Greenland's prime minister adamant, saying we are not for sale, and calling today's visit by the vice president highly aggressive. Here in Nuuk, Greenland's capital, you can hear the concern about what all this might mean. Do you think this is pressure on you guys, though?
Yeah, it's very much.
Yeah,
it's very
for
much.
everybody. Second Lady Vance had at first planned to attend a dog sled race and promote cultural ties, but those plans were dropped as the criticisms mounted. Many people here do want to see a deeper, enhanced relationship with the U.S. There's a lot of resentment against Denmark, but an American takeover of Greenland, polls show and conversations confirm most people reject that. Rebecca?
All right, Terry, some big questions there. Thank you.
Vice President J.D. Vance left the U.S. to visit a military base in Greenland, an important part of America's missile defenses. He is traveling with his wife after her plan to visit another part of the territory changed. Holly Williams is in Greenland asking locals about President Trump's vow to take over the island. Holly, good morning.
Good morning, Adriana. The original plan was for the Second Lady, Vance, to come here to Greenland's capital, Nuuk, on a private visit, including watching a dog sledding race. But that was scrapped after Greenland's outgoing Prime Minister called it, quote, highly aggressive and
This is amazing. They couldn't find one person to even let Usha into their home. That's hilarious, dude. According to Danish TV2, representatives from the USA have been going door to door in Nuuk over the past few days to find Greenlanders who wanted to be visited by Vance. After they failed to find anyone, the visit was canceled. Amazing. You couldn't find one person? That's crazy. What happened to the MAGA hat wearing homeless people or whatever? The random people that they gave MAGA hats to be like, hey, stand right here in front of Charlie Kirk to talk about how much. Where's that one guy? There's the one like the weed dealer guy who was like a MAGA influencer. What happened? I thought there was one hog in all of Greenland. I thought they found one hog in all of Greenland. He doesn't have a home? I guess, yeah, homeless implies that they don't have homes that Usha could visit. But the one influencer, I don't think he's homeless.
Greenland's always been a quiet place, but has now been swept up in the noise of US politics and President Trump's territorial ambitions.
How long have your Inuit ancestors lived on this land?
Thousands of years.
Kuno Fenker told us he's proud to be Inuit, the indigenous people of this land. He's also a lawmaker in Greenland's parliament.
Who should decide the future of Greenland?
The Greenlandic people.
But as the US and Russia vie for military dominance in the Arctic, President Trump says the US needs to take control of Greenland for security reasons. And he's refused to rule out using economic or military.
No, you guys don't understand. Someone has to take it, okay? We can't leave it to the Greenlanders. God forbid, okay? You don't understand. Someone has to take it. It's real estate, man. Someone's got to take it. And it's got to be us. It's got to be us.
Military force.
One way at
Dude, you can't. America has an insatiable, unyielding appetite for more conquest. And we must try to consistently dominate other countries. We've run out of options. China is dominating the global south with their favorable trade deals. We don't like that. So we just got to go to our allies and dominate them further. We got to go to the allies that we have, specifically Europe, Canada, maybe a little bit of Mexico too. Mexico's in the middle though, because they're also kind of Chinese aligned, you know? And we must do everything we can. I think the only thing holding this loyalty pledge to America right now is the rather cynical view that European leaders have that stems from Orientalism against China. They are just still, I think, more fearful of China in general and more fearful of even the aesthetics of socialism in general Even if China has made no inferences to spreading ideological socialism around the world at all, that like they're just like, yeah, we got to keep staying the course with America no matter how much they bully us, and that's it. You know, it's Russia, bro. What? Okay, it's Russia, bro. What? Great fucking talking point. Who's more pro-Russia, China or Donald Trump? I mean it seriously. Like, the Chinese government is aligned with Russia because Russia is seen as like is seen to be attacking Western interests, right? But Donald Trump is outflanking everybody on this process and being like, no, Russia is awesome. Russia is killing it. We love Russia, don't we, folks? We need to put an end to this Vladimir Putin. You know? Check Twitter. Is it nuked for you? No. Oh my God. Kaya is fucking snoring right now.
Any other we're going to get it.
For now, Greenland's a semi-autonomous part of Denmark, one of America's NATO allies. And 85% of people here say they do not want to be part of the United States, according to a recent poll. Many Greenlanders we've spoken to are suspicious of President Trump.
I'm very lucky to be born here.
A rare exception to that is Jorgen Boesen, a bricklayer.
I ordered it on the internet.
Got it online.
They found him. Got him. Why didn't he open his home to Usha's advances? So why is Trump getting close to Putin when they're allied with China and North Korea? I don't get this shit. OMG. Yeah, but Russia is a big ally of China, isn't it? I don't understand. Trump moves to Putin because of it. Yeah, I can't understand that. I can't give you a good answer for this. I'm sorry. I don't understand it either. I think it's this like forced reverse Sino-Soviet split where the American government will side with Russia and use Russia against China in their minds, but I don't know how valid of a plan of attack that is. Because the main enemy here is not Russia, it's China. That's the scary, that's the real scary enemy. So I think they perhaps believe that if they give favorable deals to Russia, then Russia will play ball and be and split from China. But I don't think that people who still remember the dissolution of the USSR and what came afterwards, even if they made out like bandits because they were Western aligned, I don't think those guys are going to forget what Western powers did anytime soon. Even though Russia itself is obviously a capitalist kleptocracy. They're not Soviet. They're not communist, socialist at all. Wait, what? Foreign policy shifts regionally. When Dems are in power, we partner with China and hurt Russia. When reps are in power, we favor Russia and harm China. No, that's not true. Democrats do not partner with China. Come on. Democrats have not partnered with China since the Obama era, where like Obama didn't even partner with China necessarily, but was just not as xenophobic as everybody else. There's never been a moment, I think, since Chinese global dominance where the American government hasn't treated China as like the number one vector of evil. They both hate maybe killing you. They both hate EU more than anything, I guess. We're so fucked with capitalism. Dude, I can't even hear myself think because of how loud this bitch is snoring right now. It's crazy. Okay, man, Twitter is bricked for you. It's fine. Who cares? You're not on Twitter. You're on Twitch, okay? No, I'm not going to open up the noise gate.
Boesen told us he was Donald Trump Jr.'s guide when he made a controversial trip to Greenland in January.
What was the point of his visit?
I think it's a statement to China and Russia and say, stay away.
Wow, it was a political statement.
I think so.
The Vice President will meet with U.S. service members later today at the Bidufik military base, which is about 1,000 miles north of here. But that...
Listen, my statement to the Inuit Greenlanders, okay, to the indigenous population of Greenland. I know that, you know, your major city is called Nuke, but that's not enough. You must get nukes instantly, immediately. You will never have autonomy and sovereignty without a standing military, but more importantly than a standing military, a nuclear arm. Okay? Maybe multiple. You must get nukes immediately. This is my warning. Look at Ukraine. They gave up the nukes. Look at what happened to Ukraine. Okay? Get nukes ASAP. Trust me. You're cooked if you don't get nukes. Get nukes immediately. Never give up those nukes. Otherwise, you are cooked. I promise you. I know how we operate, okay? Americans are parasitic. Our foreign policy is parasitic. We will take over. We will lie to you. We will gaslight you. We will make it seem, we will keep telling you over and over again that we're doing this for you, actually. You gotta get nukes or you will get dominated, okay? Yeah, I will do a fundraiser in the future to get the Inuit population of Greenland a nuclear armament immediately.
Space is critical to America's defense because if Russia ever targeted the US with ballistic missiles, the shortest route would be across the Arctic. Gail.
All right, Holly Williams reporting from Greenland. Thank you very much.
Hey guys, how we doing? Please, at ease. At ease. Good Lord, sit down and eat. Sit down and eat. Don't let the vice president stop you guys. How we doing? It's cold as shit here. Thank you all for everything.
God, he's such a lame ass dude. He is like, yeah. Oh, I said shit. Hey, don't let the vice president stop you from getting chow. Hey, you know me. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Am I right? Oh God, he is so lame. But that's so are many of our active duty service members. So I think he's trying to be nice here, though. No, this is marketing, man. This is him. This is no different than, oh, you're going to get shit for that one. What? It's true. People always think that, like, active duty service members, there's many of them in here, okay? Yes, y'all are a bunch of fucking nerds. It's true. I don't know why people automatically assume that, like, if you're a veteran or if you're active duty service member, that, like, you have to be held up to a different standard. Like, look. Yeah, there's hella nerds and lame asses in the military. What do you mean? It's America's largest jobs program. It's going to reflect broader American society. It's going to be very diverse, and it's going to have a bunch of lame asses. How long have you served? ... Okay, good. Yeah, I haven't. I'd rather serve crack, okay, than serve this nation. Fuck you mean?
Everything you do, and thanks for having us. So please sit down, guys. Please. I wish you'd eat your food. Usha and I are thrilled to be here. It's a really beautiful flight, actually. You fly over some pretty cool spots. I've never been to Greenland. Apparently, I'm the first vice president to ever visit Greenland, so that's a pretty cool thing. But we're looking forward to hanging out and getting to know you guys and understanding what you do. So I think what do we have? So
only thing I'm serving out here is looks and the top of the hour ad break, which used to come at the top of the hour. It no longer comes at the top of the hour, but I still urge you to subscribe if you would like to support the broadcast. That's right. You can subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get one free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster who is against the annexation of Greenland. Your subscription revenue will not be going to a nuclear armament strategy for Greenland. Okay? It's also 35% off gifted subs right now on the platform. So you can gift to your hearts. If to your heart is filled with joy by allowing others to also be subscribers. They get badges. They get the opportunity to be able to send me links. Anyway. Also, isn't one of the reasons why you came to the U.S. for college to avoid mandatory conscription? No, that's not the reason. I just wanted to come to the United States for college in general. But that is just an extra benefit. Get a LeBron hat. Take my Knicks off your head. If you're a Knicks fan, shouldn't you be excited that I'm fucking wearing the hat? Throwing bagels at the wall. Thank you for the 20 gifted subs. Doc Wormelon. Thank you for the 5 gifted. Zin. Thank you for the 5 gifted. Musashi 42, thank you for the 5 gifted. All right, let's see this weirdo try to be human around people. Barry Balls, thank you for the 10.
We're going to talk to the command and some of the Guardians about what exactly the base does and all the
Left Coastline, thank you for the 5. Not the real Chris Evans, thank you for the 5.
ways it contributes to national security. We're going to get a briefing, of course, about what you guys do every day. And then we're going to talk just about, as you've heard, we have some interest in Greenland from the Trump administration. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. with our friends in the media. But I just want to say thank you all. Thanks for having us, and thanks for being here. Thanks for doing what you do. The Colonel told me that this is a one-year unaccompanied duty station. When we were flying in, we were wondering whether you guys were allowed to bring your families here. So I know it's a lot of sacrifice to spend a year away from your families, but the mission is really important. The Trump administration, the president is really interested in Arctic security. As you all know, that's a big issue, and it's only going to get bigger over the coming decades. So thanks for doing what you do. What's the plan here? So I thought I was serving food, but it looks like what's the plan from here, guys? Sorry? Okay, we're going to get some food here too. Good. Okay. All right, we're sitting right there? Yes. Fantastic. Great. Thank you all for having us.
Gifts are 35% off. They're 35% off. Yeah, so he did that thing. He did the dang thing, okay? But that's not all. Here, let's watch why no one wants to meet U.S. Vice President Vance in Greenland from DW News.
President J.D. Vance has left for Greenland with his wife, Usha, on
The German broadcaster Deutsche Welle is not holding back on its commentary against the J.D. Vance charm offensive. It's kind of funny when you are trying to annex a country through peaceful means at first, and you send the most annoying loser there. Why? Like, do you really feel like people in Greenland are going to see J.D. Vance and go, oh, that's a guy who I want to lead my country. That's who I want to be in charge of here. Like, you couldn't find one guy. You don't have anybody that's like more fun. Send Pete Hegseth. Let him do some push-ups and, you know, brave the cold with his beer blanket. You're like, hell yeah, I'm here in Greenland. I'm Pete Hegseth. I'm not drunk right now. Let me tell you, okay, we're doing OPSEC here. I'm gonna do some push-ups. Okay, I'm gonna fucking do push-ups with the Inuit population, and if I win the push-up contest, then Greenland is mine. OPSEC is clear. Over and out.
a trip that will now only be stopping at a U.S. military base there. Their trip to the semi-autonomous Danish territory was revised after initial plans caused an uproar in both Greenland and Denmark. Leaders had called the planned visit a provocation following President Donald Trump's talk of U.S. annexation. Here's more on the reactions to that.
Greenlanders have made it clear. President Trump's threats and overtures aren't welcome. An announced visit by the vice president's wife, Usha Vance, to a popular dog sled race was seen as an attempt to pile on even more pressure. That sparked furious reactions from Greenlandic leaders, including outgoing Prime Minister Mute Beia. He told local media that the very aggressive American pressure against Greenlandic society is now so serious that the level cannot be raised any higher. Denmark's Prime Minister also criticized the trip.
This is clearly not a visit that is about what Greenland needs or what Greenland wants from the outside right now. And therefore, I have to say that it's unacceptable pressure that's being put on both Greenland and Denmark in this situation. And it's a pressure that we will resist.
After the outcry, Vice President J.D. Vance announced he would come as well, but said that the visit would be limited to a remote U.S. military base.
Mr. Wife guy, he's like, oh, you guys don't want my wife? Well, guess what? I'm coming now, and I'm way more annoying than she is, okay? I'll show you. Is U.S. invading Greenland grounds for Article 5 being used against us is such a funny question because NATO is America. It's an expression of American might. It is an American security agreement. It is in some ways supposed to keep you protected from America. If you drop that, there's no Article 5 against America. NATO is not going to create like a military resistance against the United States of America. It's so funny. No, that's not how this works. The entirety of the European continent is functionally a vassal for American interests.
Hey guys, it's J.D. Vance, the vice president, and you know there was so much excitement around Usha's visit to Greenland this Friday that I decided that...
No, literally the opposite. The opposite happened, and that's why he's there.
I didn't want her to have all that fun by herself, and so I'm going to join her. I'm going to visit some of our guardians in the Space Force on the northwest coast of Greenland and also just check out what's going on with the security there of Greenland. As you know, it's really important
This is where the Vances are set to visit.
He's going to check it out. He's going to check out the security situation. He's going to check out the security situation, okay? Let me tell you. Excuse me, I have a very urgent and important matter to ask you about the state, authenticity, and journalism on your platform. Please name 3 players on the Knicks without Googling. I can't, and I don't care. I've never said I was a Knicks fan. I'm just wearing my buddy's hat who left it behind. Also, I wear t-shirts that have bands on them too, and I will not. I refuse to. It's a cool hat. I don't care about the Knicks at all. I don't know ball. I don't need the know ball. I don't care. There it is.
Visit the Bidufik Space Base. The U.S. military has been stationed there for decades, with radar arrays here forming a vital part of America's early warning system against nuclear attack during the Cold War, and still today. The U.S. has long regarded the vast, sparsely populated island as strategically important, thanks to its location. Greenland sits at a crossroads between the U.S., Canada, the European Union, and Russia, but it's climate change and rising temperatures that have turbocharged Washington's interest. On Greenland itself, melting ice is presenting the chance to exploit the island's massive untapped natural wealth, including minerals critical to the green transition. Warming waters around Greenland and in the Arctic Ocean beyond are also opening up new shipping lanes and new areas for gas and oil drilling. That's attracted Russian and Chinese interest as well. Denmark welcomed the news that the Vances would only visit the airbase, seen as a de-escalation. But it's unlikely that Greenlanders have heard the last about U.S. interest in their territory.
Marcus Valentin is a journalist from the Greenlandic Broadcasting Corporation, KNR, and he's joining us now from the capital, Nuuk. Welcome, Marcus. Can I ask you, how do Greenlanders feel about this?
Just by vibes alone, I don't think this guy is on board with America invading and annexing Greenland. I'm just looking at his fit, and it kind of feels like he's not going to be on board with America doing military conquest.
This visit from the U.S. Vice President.
Well, the initial reaction was a shock. If this was an escalation attempt,
like he looks like he would be a part of like a revolutionary communist party that now has a social democratic slant. And is anti-immigrant, but pro-expanding the social safety nets only marginally. He looks like the average European leftist guy. I'm joking. I don't know what his background is at all. I'm just memeing, okay?
But as we've seen that he will only visit the Bidufik space base, there's been a sigh of relief among the population up here because the demonstrations are now called off. It is also, there is a feeling of proudness that all the hard work from the different Greenlanders wanting to make mass protests and the politicians trying to get Trump to back off his plans and J.D. Vance to back off his plans has finally, in some sort of way, worked where they are de-escalating the conflict.
Keep being racist, bro. That is such a racist and misogynistic take. Keep being racist, bro. Standing ovation. Wait, misogynistic? What? What are you saying? Like, I'm being an anti-Danish racist, but also simultaneously misogynistic. What simulation are you seeing through, man? I think you gotta... White racism is racism. It's true. As a white man, I'm a anti-white racist. Why did you say I was being misogynistic, though? Bro, you should see, not through the simulation, but you should look and find your lithium prescription and take it to the nearest CVS instantly, okay? I think you ran out.
At least in the short term, because when I talk to international experts in international politics through the Arctic, they say that this is sort of an escalation also in the long term.
There are reports of US officials going door to door in Greenland to try and find some residents who are prepared to give J.D. Vance and his wife a warmer welcome. Can you confirm that that happened?
I can confirm that happened. I have some sources that was planning the visit, that was trying to set up some visits, and have gotten rejections from everywhere. And we have also heard from different vendors here in Nuuk that people came up to them and said that they wanted to make a PR stunt. They wanted Usha to come and have this beautiful visit. Where they said, well, she can enter as a guest and pay a ticket just like everyone else. And as far as I have heard, they weren't interested in that.
All right. Do you know if there was any outreach?
Like, I know the Greenland population is not massive, right? But you couldn't find one person. Like, that's kind of crazy. I mean, it's awesome. Holy crap. Like, but you couldn't find one person. Like, there's 31,000 people in here, which is, I assume, close to, like, if not half of Greenland's population, maybe the same size. I don't know what Greenland's total population number is. Okay. But I'm sure there's one person, even in this community right now, that would host J.D. Vance at their home. Like, and not even on some like weird shit. Like, they would do it because they're a fan enough of the prospect of having J.D. Vance in their home. That's amazing.
By the US, any attempt at all to coordinate this visit with the Greenlandic?
They couldn't find one person who they wanted to show. They definitely found freaks who would hurt them if they revealed. No, this administration doesn't care about freaks, dude. Are you kidding me? They already did that with the freaks. There's that MAGA patriot who was wearing the Thug Life Trump t-shirt. There's that one MAGA Greenlander. They don't care. I don't think that guy has a house. I think that's the problem. I think that's the issue. They just did, like, the only people that were down with the whole Trump regime, the Trump annexation, simply did not have housing.
Or Danish authorities at all?
I'm not aware of if there has been any official talks. Up here in Greenland, we know that there are some people, American citizens, that has worked alongside the administration to invite them to Greenland as a private visit. But as far as how much of an attempt they've had in cooperating with the Greenlandic and the Danish government, it's hard to say. But we know from the Greenlandic politicians, at least, that they are not. They have expressed to the U.S. officials that they are not welcome in Greenland because a coalition government is still in the talks, or were still in the talks. It is now being presented later today here in Nuuk, a new government. But it is seen as, from the Greenlandic perspective, as
It's because JD is trying to meet with the libtards in Nuuk. He can't roll with the hillbillies down south in Kakortok or Kasimiut. He gets seasick. I tried to say those names. I'm so sorry. Our GeoGuessr wizard in here knows more about Greenland than I ever will. And I apologize to the Greenlanders for butchering the way to say those places. Wait, those are real? Yes, MHUD definitely knows. MHUD 100% knows Greenland inside and out. If it's on Google Maps, he knows it, okay?
not a good move from the U.S. to come when there isn't a functioning government.
Right. I mean, Greenland's acting prime minister apparently called this trip a provocation, a demonstration of power, and asked the international community to step up. What do you think he's expecting from the international community?
That's very, very difficult to answer because, as we've seen so far, there's been harsh rhetoric from the Greenlandic side, and also the Danish Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, has chimed in on that and has amped up her rhetoric. We know that the Danish government has been in UN in these couple of days and also talked with other state leaders. And we know in Denmark that they are working as much as possible to get a solution on this and trying to talk, especially with the European.
How she missed that shot, bro. That was the easiest shot of my life. Terrible pool player.
partners, but just what it is that the Greenlandic politicians want the other nations to do and actually show in support of Greenland is not very clear as of yet. But when the new government coalition is signed later today in Nuuk, and a new government is soon formally formed, I think we will know pretty soon what it is that the Greenlandic government will expect from the rest of the world.
Donald Trump says the US needs Greenland for its national security. He said, quote, America will go as far as we have to go to gain control of the island. And then we've got the Danish Prime Minister saying Greenland is part of the Danish kingdom. That is not going to change. What do the Greenlanders say, Marcus?
There's hardly any Greenlanders up here that wants to be part of the US. There is a minority of Greenlanders that want to have a closer ties with the US, and a lot of Greenlanders up here, especially up until recently, wants closer economic ties with the US, both in minerals, mining, natural resources, but also in fishing. And other trading goods that Greenland can provide, because Greenlanders have this saying, we are open for business. They don't really discriminate against who they want to work with and trade with. And they see US as a huge trading partner and a huge possibility to have more trade with the US. But in the last couple of
It's not my mic that's popping, it's their mic. It's Doshavella's mic popping.
Weeks, as far as how that will change now, as of Donald Trump saying that he wants to annex the country and will go as far as he will, as far as he can to annex the country. This can change, but we're all waiting for the new government to be formed and to see what policies they will implement afterwards.
Marcus Valentin, journalist in Nuuk, Greenland. Marcus, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's that real sock them audio right there. China's economy czar invites EU trade chief to jointly resist tariff threats. Ooh, using the never let an opportunity go to waste. When your enemy is making a mistake, do not disrupt them. China's coming in hot. Chinese century of prosperity, China rising. Both China and EU have seen their relations with the U.S. sour over President Donald Trump's tariff policies. Since taking office in January, Trump has imposed 20% additional tariffs on all Chinese imports. It's conspiratory to think that the Republicans believe in climate change, but say they don't because they know they can profit off of it. What? Yeah, you can say you don't believe in climate change, but then still recognize that the climate is changing, you know? That's what's going on. They are, after decades of denying climate change and saying it's a Chinese Chi-Com conspiracy, they are going, oh yeah, the Arctic Arctic ice is melting. It's going to open up new pathways for trade. We need to take advantage of that. There's new opportunities to drill, baby, drill. It's like Florida. You can say the climate is not changing and that's woke and gay, but like, what are you going to do when your house is underwater? You know what I mean? Like, you can't deny that your house is now underwater. Do you understand? It's just like you can go, oh, how did this happen? Who could have foreseen this? But your house is now underwater. You know, you can say, oh, it must be DEI, but your house is still underwater. You recognize the old relationship. Anyway, here's Carney saying Canada's old relationship with the U.S. is over.
We had with the United States based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperation is over. President Trump again imposed unjustified tariffs on our nation in violation of our existing trade agreements. We will respond forcefully. Nothing is off the table to defend our workers and our country. And our response to these latest tariffs is to fight, is to protect and to build. We will fight the U.S. tariffs with retaliatory trade actions of our own that will have maximum impact in the United States and minimum impacts here in Canada. It's my solemn promise that when President Trump threatens us again, we will fight back. We will fight back with everything we have to get the best deal for Canada. We will build an independent future for our country stronger than ever. The road ahead will be long. There is no silver bullet. There is no quick fix. And I know and I understand that many are feeling anxious and worried about the future. Fundamental change is always unsettling. But I have every confidence in our country because I understand what President Trump does not, that we love Canada with every fiber of our being.
They're already looking to reduce reliance on America. I mean, good, great, they should. It's the correct method. I don't think this guy is, I don't know if he fixes Canada's problems in general, but yeah, I am fully in support of a BDS movement against America. As an American citizen, as a content creator in the United States of America, okay, I am fully in support of doing a boycott, divestments, and sanctions movement on the United States.
Begin with breaking news for you on a powerful and deadly earthquake. It's in Southeast Asia. And take a look at these pictures. They really tell the story. It was 7.7 magnitude quake.
Oh, boy. Whoa.
Caused at least one tower you see under construction to collapse right there on the spot. This was in Bangkok, which, as you know, is the capital of Thailand. Oh, boy. The earthquake was centered just across the border in Myanmar. Anna Corin has the latest for us. Anna, good morning.
Good morning, Gail. That video, absolutely shocking. You can only imagine the terror felt by the people there in Bangkok. Thailand's defence minister says 3 people are dead, 90 are missing, but it is obviously feared that death toll will rise.
Disbelief turned to sheer panic in the streets of Bangkok as a 30-storey skyscraper under construction suddenly collapsed following a powerful earthquake which sent people in Thailand's capital running for their lives. Officials say the 7.7 magnitude quake hit in neighbouring Myanmar, hundreds of miles away, with the epicentre located near Mandalay, the country's second largest city, on Friday afternoon. There, a mosque was reduced to rubble with worshippers inside, while Mandalay's university was engulfed in thick black smoke. Myanmar's military junta has declared a state of emergency and has made a rare appeal for international aid. Back in Bangkok, eyewitness reports of violent shaking lasting for up to a minute in a city that's home to 17 million people.
7.7 is a crazy magnitude. Also, as I've talked about with Turkey, with both my own personal experiences in Turkey and the recent earthquakes that took place in Turkey and northern Syria, 7.7, especially depending on what kind of ground it's on, but more importantly than that, what kind of infrastructure you have can be it could be super devastating. And obviously, especially in a place like Myanmar, where I suspect the infrastructure is not designed or built against that sort of thing. That's the reason why you see way more casualties.
People, many who live in high-rise buildings, and felt a 6.4 aftershock just minutes later. Nearby at a shopping centre.
Immediately there was screaming, there was a lot of panic. I just started walking calmly at first, but then the building started really moving.
Video from inside an apartment building shows chandeliers and other household items swaying. People terrified of more aftershocks choosing to wait outside. Water could be seen from the rooftop pool of Bangkok's Intercontinental Hotel, gushing out from over the sides as it shook. It's unclear how many people are dead or injured, but officials say dozens of construction workers were believed to be on site of the skyscraper the moment the earth violently shook.
Now, the fact that this earthquake was so shallow, only 6 miles deep, is why it was so violent and felt so far across from Thailand to Myanmar. We haven't heard an official toll from the military junta on deaths or injuries, but the fact they've asked for international assistance is incredibly unusual and perhaps a sign of how desperate the situation is on the ground. Tony.
Dramatic pictures. We'll keep following Anna Corin in Hong Kong for us. Anna, thank you very much.
A massive 7.7 magnitude earthquake rocked Southeast Asia today, followed by a powerful aftershock. It happened near Mandalay, Myanmar, which is the war-torn country's second largest city. That quake reverberated across the region, from Thailand to China. Now, in Myanmar, state TV reports that more than 140 people are now dead, with 730 injured. Buildings were seen swaying, with bridges, roads, and places of worship collapsing. NBC News International correspondent Raf Sanchez joins us now. Raf, just tell us more about the damage and the victims. How bad is it?
It's bad, Joe. Myanmar is suffering what is basically a 1-2 punch here. You have a 7.7 magnitude earthquake, and then just 12 minutes later, 6.4 magnitude aftershock, as you said, rocking the country's second biggest city. The military regime in Myanmar is saying 144 people are dead, 730 injured, but that there may very well be worse to come. And we also saw destruction across the border in Thailand, at least 9 people dead in Bangkok. And at one building site alone, there are currently more than 100 people missing. And I want you to listen to the accounts of some of the survivors from the quake in Bangkok. Take a listen.
I felt myself swaying a little bit, so I thought, okay, this is not quite normal. And just as I was about to start taking things, the shaking was really intense.
I was turning to my boss and I was like, do you feel the same thing? And she's like, yeah, I thought it was me. And then the light started to fall off the floor, the ground, and then we ran down to the building.
So search and rescue operations currently underway. We are expecting the toll to rise on both sides of the border. And Joe, the USGS is saying the ultimate death toll could be in the thousands. Joe.
And Raf, one of the reasons it's been hard to get information out of Myanmar is that it's been tied up in a civil war for the last 4 years. It's controlled by a military government. How are they dealing with this disaster?
So far, they have declared a state of emergency across much of the country. As you say, there are big questions about whether the authoritarian nature of Myanmar is going to hamper the relief efforts. So far, the military regime is saying it is accepting help from neighboring countries, including India, that it's opened up its borders in order to get more aid in. They are applying for, or appealing rather, for blood donations. But as you say, there's an ongoing civil war, especially in the Rohingya region. Questions about whether aid is going to reach.
Why are chatters saying that there is no military mobilization in Myanmar? I don't know what's going on here, but there is. There are still warring factions in parts of the country. It is a military junta, one that is aligned with the Chinese government. They mentioned India, but not China, I assume for that reason. Like, this is true. It's not a false statement. But yes, there are other countries in the region that are also, I suspect, immediately offering aid.
Each areas that the government doesn't control. And we're waiting to see, Joe, whether they will let journalists in and whether they will be transparent about the full scale of damage. Joe.
All right, Raf Sanchez, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about.
Aftershock forecast says 40% chance of a 6+ in the next week, 90% chance of a 5+. No, you're wrong. China's position on Myanmar has been historically neutral. China, depending on the immediate needs that China has, will oftentimes either arm the militancy against the military junta or directly support the military junta. It's not. That's not to say that they're neutral is incorrect. They definitely support the current government. Having said that, I don't think that has a lot to do with like the aid. L-Take, you're wrong. You're out of your element. Top bozo takes against you. Thank you.
Implementing retaliatory tariffs. You said if that were to happen, that you would be responding with large-scale tariffs. Will you be following through with that promise?
Well, absolutely. But we had a very good conversation. Mark called me today at 10 o'clock.
China in neutral amount. China is never fully neutral. China is just pro-China. They certainly don't. Their engagement with countries as within the region are definitely. I mean, they definitely engage with countries in the region a lot more, but their interference in the affairs are way more hands-off than the United States of America is across the world. But that doesn't mean that they don't interfere in the affairs of regional powers, whether it is to maintain stability or have favorable trade negotiations or maintain some kind of a barrier of security around itself. China still certainly interferes in the affairs of countries in the region.
We put out a statement. We had a very, very good talk. He's going through an election now, and we'll see what happens. But we are We have Liberation Day, as you know, on April 2nd, because, and I'm not referring to Canada, but many countries have taken advantage of us, the likes of which nobody even thought was possible for many, many decades, And, you know, that has to stop. We're going to end up with a very good relationship with Canada and a lot of the other countries. Some we probably won't. It won't be so pleasant. But I think most countries are agreeing with me. They actually, many of them have actually apologized. They said, look, we have taken advantage. And
bro, this guy is living in La La Land. Like, he's just living in his own universe, dude. He's just living on his own. He's living in his own planet. Yeah, everybody loves it. Everybody loves what I'm doing. The market loves what I'm doing. Breaking, over $1 trillion in market value has been lost from the S&P 500 so far today. Hey, man, I'll have you know, we don't care about that anymore because that doesn't make Trump look good, okay? I think you forgot to download the new talking point, which is that it's okay. When it's up, it's great. You know, the great economy lover Donald Trump has fixed the markets. When it's down, we don't care. What are you, fucking woke? It's woke to the stock market is woke, dude. Is DEI. Like, what are you talking about? Look, see, nobody cares. It's money from the 1% mostly anyways. It's down like -2%. These headlines are silly. As I've said time and time again, the top 10% of wealth in the United States of America own 90% of the stock market. And as it stands, as it happens with everything under, liberal capitalism and in the United States of America, the gains in the stock market are privatized, kept in that top 10%, but the losses in the stock market are socialized. So you definitely suffer when the stock market is tanking. But hey, guess what, dude? He's going to fix it all one day. I promise. When we deport the perfect number of Venezuelan dudes with like autism awareness tattoos who teach autistic teenagers how to swim, you know, when we get those guys out of here, all of a sudden everything's going to be better. One day. We just need to deport like another youth soccer coach. There's a perfect number out there. When we arrive at it, you'll see America truly will be great. Okay. You know what it is? It's because we're not sufficiently pro-Israel. I just realized, because I'm just judging by what the Trump administration cares about. And it seems like they care about, dominating college campuses, and making sure that everyone is saying the right things about Israel, which is that, Am Israel Chai, we love Israel, that sort of stuff. The moment that every single person is flying the banner saying Israel is wonderful, is the most moral democracy, then magically everything will be solved. And in order to get there, we just got to keep deportations up. Also, there's a perfect number of tariffs that we need to arrive at too. Once we do that, still mad about deporting illegal immigrants? He's giving us a chance to buy the dip. Dumb chatters. This guy. With what, you dumbass? Yeah, I didn't realize you had a couple spare multiple millions, in your bank account that wasn't tied to the stock market already that you can use to buy the dip. Yeah, you'll buy the dip one of these days. You'll get in on the ground floor. I bought the last 2 dips. It keeps going down. Please help. Yeah. Warren Buffett, dude. Yeah. Buy low, sell high. Duh. Come on, dude. Don't you guys understand? It's pretty simple.
Every single person in this room and the overwhelming majority of people that you know are
here. Yeah, I wanted to highlight this. Of course, one of the classic cases here. Also, is this good, chat? I'm new to this. Day trading business. Is this good? Because it feels like maybe the tariffs back and forth is not looking too great. I don't know. Have you said thank you yet? Have you said thank you once? Oh my Lord. It's so funny. because I got a bunch of friends who are like agnostic to Trump, and you know what that means, right? Like, I know a bunch of people who are agnostic, or even know some like people with crypto, and they are screaming bloody murder. At first they were like, nah, Trump is going to bring about a crypto boon. Okay. And even on the crypto side of things, everything is falling apart as well. JD Pondon is short the stock market, or his cronies are. Yeah. Yeah. I'll be at this LA rally too, obviously. After 86,000 attendance for the last swing, AOC to join Bernie Sanders rally in Los Angeles Grand Park on April 12th. I'll be there. I'll definitely be there. Hassan, you loser. Before he fixes things, it needs to get a little bad. It's only darkest before the dawn, brother. Stay strong. Yeah, that's what it is. Guys, stay strong, loyal patriots. Anyway, like I said, I only take my notes from what the Trump admin is saying and doing. And what the Trump admin is saying and doing is very important. Let's see what let's see what they were saying here. The fuck? Two objects that are the same? Oh, I got owned. I got owned by the fucking bot.
Is the only sign of life, and it's only going up because everyone thinks Trump is going to win the election. You can't really watch the stock market.
We all saw the stock market soaring post-election. It reached an all-time high today, 82,000. Optimism everywhere. Just ignore the sky is falling reports in the regime press. Tune out the breathless reporting about market gyrations.
I'm excited about the economy. Look at the stock market. Our rocket ship is getting ready to take off in our economy with President Trump. We were probably overbloated with the stock market here for a while. We went up quite a bit.
Yeah, stock market went up too much. It's not supposed to always go up. It's supposed to go down sometimes. Everybody knows that, okay? Stock market's been too hot for far too long, which, by the way, ironically enough, I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, yeah, he's not even entirely incorrect. It's just funny for him to say that right now, you know?
A bit.
You guys want to start with good news? The market's up 25% since you won. You tweeted this out that nobody in the media brings it up, so I said, you know what, I'm going to bring it up tonight.
Forget the stock market for a second here, and I have said on this program for years, it's never been my indicator in terms of the health of the economy.
Yeah. Dude, everybody turns into Robert Reich. All of the entirety of regime press turns into Robert Reich. You know, it's not a real indicator. Everybody knows that the stock market is not an indication of a healthy economy, okay? Everybody knows this. What are you guys talking about? Fantastic. Thank you.
The market always knows. So the market already started to kind of have this sort of rally, this sort of Trump rally. It's an energy, it's an electricity. We have to be very, very careful about all of this and the notion that we have to react as Americans.
Dude. How long until someone on the regime media side turns around and says it's actually domestic terror? Liberals are engaging in an act of terrorism by explaining the normal market conditions in a way that is damaging, with hopes that investors will lose confidence and keep selling and will plummet the stock market further. This is an act of economic terrorism. We need to send more people to El Salvador. How long until someone says it is illegal? It is illegal to short the stock market. It is illegal and an act of terrorism. It's very obvious to me that these liberals, these elitist liberals, want our stock market to plummet because they hate Donald Trump. They have Trump derangement syndrome. They want the economy to perform poorly. And that's why they're demanding that the stock market fails and plummets. That's why they're engaging in illegal trades, such as shorting the stock market or selling off their stocks in general. And that we have to prosecute these people and we have to deport them. Stop giving them ideas. Come on, dude. I'm not giving these guys ideas. I'm just telling you what they're going to say inevitably. What? Oh, yep. Jimmy Kimmel tacitly endorses domestic terrorism, celebrates stock market turmoil, dehumanizes Elon Musk. Just wait. I mean, that's a 14-like tweet. That's irrelevant, but just wait. I'm telling you, someone on Fox News is going to say that.
Every single person in this room And the overwhelming majority of people that you know are one word away. It didn't matter if you're 13 years old when you said it. You're one word, you're one statement, you're one retweet, you're one like away from destroying your life. There are kids in America that have had their admissions to a college revoked.
That's why I, as the Secretary of State, will protect students who are criticizing the apartheid state of Israel that is doing a genocide, right? Surely that's the clip. That's the clip,
There are now
right?
certain things that you're not allowed to say on a college campus.
Mr. Secretary, a Turkish student in Boston was detained and handcuffed on the street by plainclothes agents. A year ago, she wrote an opinion piece about the Gaza war. Could you help us understand what the specific action she took led to her visa being revoked?
Yeah,
And what was your State Department's role in that process?
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist. Every single person in this room, and the overwhelming majority.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, these guys have never cared about free speech. Wake up to that reality. This is something that I used to talk about quite frequently in the most heated moments of cancel culture conversations all the way back in 2016, where I was like, oh, yeah, cancel culture? How about BDS? You talk about cancel culture, but try saying anything about Israel on a college campus, because they've always been on board with censorship. There's never been a moment in the history of the modern Republican Party where they haven't actively undermined free speech. They've always been anti-free speech. Wake up. And it's not just on the boundaries of Israel, Palestine either, even though that one is the most egregious, most overt restriction that the Republicans have always agitated towards. The likes of Barry Weiss or Ben Shapiro, who very famously presented themselves as cancel culture warriors, would also actively and consistently try to do canary mission style shit to any student protester that ever had anything to say about Israel. They never, ever strayed away from that. But it's not just on Israel either. These cancel culture warriors and the Republican Party as a whole have consistently undermined education, for example. Republicans have always been, they have always been at the bleeding edge. Always been at the bleeding edge, cutting edge of book burnings, basically. Modern book burnings. Banning books. That is a Republican pastime, and that is the Republican future. What do you think this like anti-CRT initiatives look like? Talking about critical race theory. We got to get it out of our schools. That's literally trying to manipulate education. That's a fixture of Republican domestic policy in this country. So it's not shocking to me that these very same, the very same Republican Party has reached a logical conclusion on their consistent endeavors to curb speech, to suppress speech. They've never been on board. They've just lied about it. And they went, no, you, using some of the edge cases of rad-libs constantly being annoying and woke scoldy in an effort to make it seem like, and this was very successful, this was entirely a leftist project.
I don't blame them as much as I blame the people that stood, in this case I can say the men, because so far they've been all men, haven't they? But the men that sat right there behind the Resolute desk, mostly the Resolute desk, you know. I don't know if you know, you have a choice of 7 desks. The Resolute is the one I like, but some chose other ones. But they sat right behind a desk right in this location, and they let our country be hurt very badly. But I didn't do that. So, but we had a very good talk, the Prime Minister and myself, and I think things are going to work out very well between Canada and the United States. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Mr. President, how is the talks with India or tariff going on, and what is the expectations from India? How much do you want them to
Well, as you know, Prime Minister Modi was here just recently, and we've always been very good friends. India is one of the highest tariffing nations in the world. You know that. I know. Thank you for shaking your head, but it's brutal. It's brutal. They're very smart, and he's a very smart man and a great friend of mine, actually. And we had very good talks. I think it's going to work out very well between India and our country. Very, very well. And I want to say you have a great prime minister.
A very serious earthquake in Burma, Myanmar today, with up to several hundred killed.
Yeah.
The military regime there has asked for help from anybody.
Yeah, we're going to be helping. We've already alerted the people. Yeah, it's terrible what's happened. It's helping. We've already spoken with the country. Okay, please.
Mr. President, yesterday you asked Representative Stefanik to stay in her seat. Can you explain your reason for that? Did it have anything to do with the tight polling in the Florida district that former Representative Waltz held?
Well, I think we're doing, I think we had, as you know, we have a few elections going on. And she is phenomenal, number one. She's a friend of mine, and she was going to go to the United Nations. And I said, look, there's a lot of room for doing that or something else. But she's very popular in her district, and I didn't want to take a chance. I don't even know who else is running. I assume somebody else would have been running. But if she runs, she can't be, you never want to say can't be beaten, but I think can't be beaten.
He seems pissed today. Yeah, he sees the market screaming bloody murder. It's not, that's never going to be a good day.
She's very, very well-liked and very smart. And I said, Lise, would you do me a favor? We cannot take a chance. We have a slim margin. We don't want to take any chances. We don't want to experiment. And she polls like I do. I won her district, as you know, by a lot of points. And she also does very well there. When it comes to Florida, you have two races, and they seem to be good. It's a Trump plus 32 area. The one thing is they're spending like $12 million, and our candidate doesn't have that kind of money, spending much less than that, like maybe 1/12, about $1 million, a little bit more than $1 million. So the airwaves are blanketed, and you never know what happens in a case like that. I won it by 32 points, and it's very, very strong. It used to be Democrat, but when I came along, they liked me for whatever reason. You'll have to explain that, but they liked me, and we're way up. But you don't know what happened. Second district, who seems
they've even bricked the cameras, bro. It's over.
To be in pretty good shape, but likewise, he's being outspent about 5-1. So we don't want to take any chances. So I went to Elise and I said, Elise, do you mind? Very highly rated person, you know, she was a real leader, and she will be again. I spoke with Mike Johnson. They're going to put her in a high leadership position. But will you mind staying in Congress? Because we don't want to take any chances. And it's as simple as that. It's basic politics. It's politics 101. She's very popular. She's going to win. And somebody else will probably win, too, because we did very well there. I did very well there. But the word probably is no good. So I really appreciate her doing it. She's doing me a big favor when she does it, because she was all set to go to the United Nations, and she would have dealt with Putin and Zelensky and everybody else, and she would have been very effective. But we really want to don't want to take any chances because it is tight. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. You and your team apprehended a top 3 leader in the violent gang MS-13 yesterday, just 30 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. What has made you and your team so effective in finding, locating, apprehending, and deporting these violent, illegal migrants?
I love this guy. I wish more people would ask questions like that. But thank you. That's very nice. I appreciate it. And they have been. All you're doing is being fair with you when you ask a question in that way. Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and all of the rest of law enforcement. I think we have to include ICE and Border Patrol, you know, Paul of Border Patrol, the whole group from Border Patrol. They're so incredible, and it's, you know, dangerous stuff, hard stuff, and it's really an unforced error, because these people were allowed into this country. They shouldn't have been in this country. They would have never been in this country. We're getting rid of some of the worst criminals in the world. They came out of jails and mental institutions from all over the world. But Pam and the whole group, and Cash, who's here, and it's so good to have him. I see him all over. He's working 24 hours a day, but the job they've done is incredible. And they caught one of the worst criminals in the world, I guess, in terms of evilness. You don't get any worse than the MS-13 guys and the Tren de Aragua guys. It's you could flip a coin. It's a rough group. And, you know, the big thing is they have to be able to do this.
I think it's important to recognize that you could just like make a new enemy up and pump that through every orifice of media, both mainstream and independent. and basically use that to justify rounding up people with no reason whatsoever, erode due process, and overextend the Alien Enemies Act in a way that we haven't done historically to even Nazis, and just mass deport through dragnets a bunch of people to a slave labor camp in a different country. Like, think about how fast this Tren stuff exploded. Tren is minuscule, okay? Like, MS-13 at the very least was a serious force, okay? A prison gang of primarily El Salvadoran immigrants living in LA, living in the United States of America, that ironically enough were deported back to El Salvador without telling the El Salvadoran government at the time, that became a destabilizing force in the country, right? That then had a direct line of communication with America, like a trade route with America, that were able to actively undermine El Salvador. Like, there's no, that's not a lie. And to say that they're brutal is not incorrect. That's a correct assessment. Tren de Aragua, on the other hand, is a Venezuelan prison gang that is marginal. Like, it's tiny, it's minuscule. It's not like a serious force inside of the United States of America. It never was. They just kind of decided to make that the new MS-13, and they were able to do so. They were genuinely able to greatly overemphasize the impact and power that Tren de Aragua had. And now they're using that as a now they've expanded the vague definition of terrorism to Tren de Aragua. Okay, just that one apartment complex is seized. They didn't seize an apartment complex. This is what I mean. This is actually what I mean. It's not real. Maybe because I grew up in Turkey and I saw terrorism as a designation that the government used over and over again to silence political dissent. But I think it's very dangerous that both the Trump administration can both use the terrorism designation and slap it onto whoever they see fit, and then claim that whoever they have decided is a terrorist, whoever they've decided is like a part of this gang that is now a terrorist, can just be deported. And it was just entirely designed in such a short period of time, mind you, with no real hard evidence. Just completely made up. You also against free speech and free thinking. You also against free thinking. You also aren't exactly free speech, but of course you conveniently never see my messages. You also against free speech and free thinking. Yeah, the free thinkers in here. Explain what you mean, chatter. Okay? Explain what you mean. There has never been as severe a violation against free speech in this country as processed and as serialized as right now. Talking about re-education, oh my God, dude, you are such a fucking moron. No, you don't need to be re-educated. You need to be educated, okay? You can't re-educate someone who hasn't been educated. Like, my memes about fucking re-education are not serious policy. I'm a Twitch streamer. You know what's serious policy? The Trump administration doing this right now. Like, black bagging and kidnapping people and disappearing them. That's real. That's what the government is doing. Oh, my Lord.
Their job. I was watching it on television like you, and I saw the home that he lived in a good area, but boy, they had a lot of weaponry in there, right? Highly sophisticated, really brutal stuff. So I appreciate the question, and I just want to thank Cash and Pam and the whole group for doing a fantastic, and the local law enforcement who's been so terrific. Even first responders. So I want to thank everybody, and thank you very much.
Mr. President, I wanted to say, first of all, happy Women's Month. You do so much for women by, first of all, keeping men out of women's sports, and you platform so many.
That was an easy one.
You platform so many great women, like your Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. You also have Caroline.
Just want to point out that the left warned this would happen when the Patriot Act first passed, when centrist Democrats sided with the Bush admin. Shocking that centrist Dems are doing nothing to stop this. Where is the calls for general strikes, legislative blockades, and protests? They did nothing but tweet. I know. You are absolutely correct. There needs to be mass mobilization against this stuff. And ironically enough, the Democrats, I don't expect them to lead the charge on this, unfortunately, because I have no confidence in them. But I would at least expect them to cause more of a fuss so that there's more coverage on this in mainstream press. They're not even doing more. Like, they're not even freaking out over this. They're behaving like collaborators. It's insane. May 1st, general strike, please platform it. Oh, God. Chatter. You can't do a general strike by just tweeting about it. Oh my God. There's already mobilization that takes years to do something like that, especially in the United States of America. It's being implemented 4 years down the line, or 3 years now at this point. Yeah, let's do a general strike 3 days from now. Holy moly.
Doing a great job as press secretary. Now Alina will be joining as well.
Stop being a cynic. What are you saying? That's not being cynical. That's being a fucking adult and knowing. Don't get mad. 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 Yes, chatter. General strike May 1st in 3 days from now. You did it. I can't. Oh God. I should not get so mad at people. Why not call for action? May 1st is a month from now. It's a month. Okay. Sorry. You're right. It's a month from now. You definitely have time to mobilize in 1 month. I apologize. It's not 3 days from now. It's a month from now. You definitely have time to mobilize. You're correct. Yeah. Okay. This is something that I've talked about a lot. And I think, you know, there's a lot of kind-hearted, empathetic individuals who just don't understand how this process works. You can't simply call for a general strike online. You have to go to labor unions. Labor unions have to coalesce. They have to get together and figure out how this mobilization will occur. It takes a tremendous undertaking. That's not how this happens. Us chatters in here will not be able to do it regardless. It has to come from labor union leadership. It's not as simple as like putting it on your Google Calendar and just not showing up for work one day. No, it has to come from rank and file. Yes, but it has to come from rank and file all the way up to union leadership. Unions have to build coalitions amongst themselves and have enough funds to withstand the economic pressure that will take place. Many of you do not comprehend how significant of an undertaking this is. You just think it's posting. It doesn't work that way.
Democrats seem to struggle answering this question. I wanted to ask you, what is a woman and why is it important that we understand the difference between men and women?
Well, it's sort of easy to answer for me because a woman is somebody that can have a baby under certain circumstances. She has a quality. A woman is a person who's much smarter than a man, I've always found. A woman is a person that doesn't give a man even a chance of success. And a woman's a person that in many cases has been treated very badly, because I think that what happens with this crazy issue of men being able to play in women's sports is just ridiculous and very unfair to women and very demeaning to women. And that's got to be about a 94%. I read today it was a 94% issue. And I watched the other day, a congressman, a Democrat congressman, fighting for the fact that men should be allowed to compete essentially in women's sports. And I say, I hope they keep that going because they'll never win another election. That's a big deal. But
it's so funny because they're not even doing that. Like the transphobic messaging aside, like what Democrat is like, you know what? I'm gonna stake a claim here. This is my fight. This is my battle. I'm going to make sure that trans women still participate in sports. Like, that's not even a thing that they're doing. But again, what are the Democrats doing? What kind of message are you hearing from the Democrats? Are they united? Do they demonstrate messaging discipline? Are they actively talking about all of the awful things that the Trump administration is doing and how that's going to harm, or how that already is harming regular Americans, disrupting the American economy, making things less affordable instead of more affordable? Are they doing all of that? No, they're not. They're not doing it. There's not enough momentum.
Women are basically incredible people.
So when you don't do that, it does not matter. The Republicans can just keep lying about what you're doing, and people will eat it up.
Do so much for our country, and we love We love our women, and we're going to take care of our women. Yeah.
What was your reason for pardoning Trevor Milton?
Highly recommended by many people that was taken advantage of. He did a business deal like in Utah, as I have it, and I think he was exonerated, and then they brought him into New York. We had a rough road. I mean, he was exonerated. It was a big celebration. Again, I don't know him, but I was. They say it was very unfair, and they say the thing that he did wrong was he was one of the first people that supported a gentleman named Donald Trump for president. He supported Trump. He liked Trump. I didn't know him, but he liked him. It was in Utah, and they went after him. They went after his family. They went after his businesses. And he was, I believe, exonerated, and then they went after him again, and they brought him this time into Manhattan, and he had nothing to do with Manhattan, and they got him, and I said, that's unfair. There are many people like that. They support Trump, and they went after him. You don't realize this is a vicious group of people that were in this office before us. This is a vicious group. They're violent. What they were doing to people, and you could go story after hundreds and even thousands of stories, and they went after this man. And when I heard about it, I said, nope, not going to happen. They destroyed 5 years of his life. He fought for 5 years of his life, and he did nothing wrong. And he's a good person. And basically, I had these fantastic recommendations about him from people that you know very well, all top-of-the-line people. They thought it was a horrible thing. There are many such cases, by the way, many such cases. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Have you spoken with Vladimir Putin about buying weapons from Iran and from North Korea?
Not about specifically that, no, I haven't.
Well, that seems to be an issue.
Feels like that should get brought up. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of funny that... That's like, look, I'm not exactly a squishy NatSec liberal, but I feel like that's at least something that you talk about. No? Like, really? That's not a thing that you talk about at all? I don't know. Am I crazy? I feel like...
that you want to make important is...
Well, I'm making all issues important.
He's like, yes, I don't like it. I don't like that Putin is buying from North Korea. He should be buying from me. We have... beautiful artillery shell facilities in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Zelensky came and saw them alongside Biden. Those artillery facilities could be making brave, beautiful artillery shells for the Russian troops liberating Donbass. Many people never talk about Donbass. Nobody talks about the Donbass. Why are they buying from North Korea? Half of them are duds. Half of those artillery shells are duds. They don't have processing and manufacturing like we do. We make brave and beautiful artillery shells. They should be using it in LPR and DPR.
You got a lot of important issues. You also have the children issue that's important. You know, a lot of children are living in Russia right now. That's a horrible situation that would have never taken place if the country is being decimated. But, you know, they're losing 2,500 on average young men, mostly men, almost in all cases men, actually, but young men every single week, 2,500. And they're not from our country. They're from Ukraine and they're from Russia. But it's human lives, and if we can get it stopped, and I think we're making progress. But there's a lot of ill will between the parties.
Should Americans buy cars now if they want to avoid higher prices? And then just to follow
No, I don't think so. I think you're going to have a country that's going to boom. I just spoke to Tim Cook of Apple. He's investing $500 billion in the United States, which he would have never... He told me, I would never have done it if you lost the election, and I would have never done it if there wasn't a tariff system that is an incentive for people to come. And remember, there are no tariffs. All you have to do is do your work right here. If you have your company here, if you build your product, make your car, or whatever it is you're making, no tariffs. And we're going to have, I think, Scott, I would say we're close to $4 trillion, even going close to $5 trillion. Now, we haven't had that for years. If you add up years, they haven't invested like that. And here we are in 2 months. We think we're up to close to $5 trillion of investment. They're going to build car plants. They're already building. Many of them have already started. And if you build a car in the United States, and one thing that I just spoke with John Thune about, I just spoke to Mike Johnson about, Speaker, we're going to do something that has never been done in this country before. I'm very proud to say it was my idea. And so sometimes a simple idea, they say, how'd you think of that one? It's so simple, it was never done. If you buy a car in the United States that's made in the United States, if it's manufactured here, when you borrow money, if you borrow money, you have interest payments, we're going to let you deduct the interest payment for income tax reasons. And I think that's going to more than pay for itself. I think people are going to be, they've never had a deduction. You know, deductions are supposed to be for like rich people, and it's unfair to have that. But rich people are, I think I know more about deductions than any human being on earth. But, you know, the truth is that people that are middle income people that buy a car and actually have to borrow money, they're going to now get an interest deduction on their car if it's made in the United States. If it's made someplace else, that won't take place. But car companies, as you know, are already expanding and building new plants. They've already started. And I think you're going to see numbers. Howard, you're seeing it. And Scott, you're seeing it. You're going to see numbers the likes of which you've never seen before. Yeah, please go.
The vice president is in Greenland right now. Do you have plans to expand U.S. military presence in Greenland? Is that
very well with Greenland? We get along very well with Denmark.
Do you? It doesn't feel like it.
We've always had a good relationship. Denmark does a lot of business in the United States. We don't do so much there, but they do a lot of business in the United States. And I think they want to see, I think everybody wants to see that work out. We need Greenland, very importantly, for international security. We have to have Greenland. It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can't. If you look at Greenland right now, if you look at the waterways, you have...
Dude, what is Trump? 14 minutes and 50 seconds. Virtually everything Donald Trump has said is a lie. Companies are opening up new facilities. I haven't seen it. Objectively untrue. If anything, I've only seen companies deny reports that they are increasing manufacturing in the United States of America. And I am infinitely more sympathetic to the concepts of tariffs than the average person is on the liberal all the way to the left side. And I look at this stuff and I see that the UAW is backing the at least automobile manufacturing tariffs, because I think they also think that this will lead to a boost in domestic manufacturing. I understand the fundamentals behind Donald Trump saying American manufacturing leaving, American manufacturing being shipped overseas was disastrous for the American economy, for the conditions of the American working class, for sure. I recognize that. It's true. It's a truthful statement. Of course, the reason why that happened was because of the same corporations that are backing this candidacy, the same interest that Donald Trump absolutely is on board with. So it's not like he's a pro-labor union kind of guy. As a matter of fact, yesterday he signed off on virtually all federal workers no longer being able to strike, no longer being able to engage in collective bargaining agreements. Like that right there is the most severe drawback that is perhaps unconstitutional as well. Not that this Supreme Court would ever entertain that notion. He's not pro-labor union at all. Here's the UAW president, Sean Fain, my goat. Attacks on federal workers. It says, yesterday, President Trump signed an order that tramples on the union rights of more than 1 million federal workers, stripping them of their ability to negotiate over their working conditions. The 1 million members of the UAW stand with federal workers and their union, AFGE, against the attacks on the Trump administration, from the Trump administration. When I was 12, the Reagan administration famously busted the air traffic controls union PATCO, firing over 11,000 striking controllers and blacklisting them from federal jobs. It wasn't just about PATCO. It sent a message to employers everywhere that it was open season on the working class. The labor movement failed to act in that moment, and we have been paying the price ever since. I want to look something up real quick. I want to look at if you look at total labor union density in 1983, it was still fairly low in comparison to other countries, of course, because America's always been incredibly anti-union, incredibly anti-labor in general. But in 1983, labor union density, as a matter of fact, was 20.1%. 20%. Labor union density now in the United States is under 10%. So the actions of Ronald Reagan played a tremendous role in this. The actions that the administration has taken today are many times worse than PATCO, affecting over 1 million federal employees across at least 18 agencies. These actions are just not an attack just on unions. It's an attack on free speech, on workers' rights to organize, on the very idea that people should have a say in their own jobs and futures. Our own members are affected by these actions, including hundreds of UAW members at National Institutes of Health. We have learned from the past and won't sit back quietly while unions are dismantled. The labor movement is not about party politics. We aren't Democrats or Republicans. We're trade unionists. And when you come after workers, you're going to find us standing shoulder to shoulder, ready to fight back. This is the statement from Sean Fain, president of the UAW. And I think, this is the tip of the spear, I would say, in terms of fighting back against this administration. Regardless of not being able to put together a general strike across the board, you have to understand that labor unions, especially in key sectors, still have tremendous power even as an individual union. Okay? Even as an individual union, despite the fact that labor union density has diminished, which allows for politicians to just cast them aside as a less powerful interest group that they don't have to abide by, which then undermines non-unionized employees as well. But the reality of the matter is, that one union alone could shut down the entirety of the American economy. Okay? Whether it be the UAW, whether it be the Teamsters, whether it be the Longshoremen's Union. You have to understand that. Labor unions are so powerful still, even with the diminished status that they have. Labor unions, if they were to decide to fight, they could technically shut down the entire economy. Of course, people will say the ILA loves Trump. Teamsters love Trump, or at least not the rank and file, but union leadership loves Trump. And I'm not going to say anything about that, friend of the show and all. And I do agree with your criticisms there. I think that they are far too friendly with an administration that is inherently antagonistic. But this kind of stuff is not ignorable. Okay. You can't just cast it aside and say, hey, what are you going to do about it? And Teamsters do still have a policy of not crossing picket lines. So regardless, it would take for the UAW or the ILA or any union to strike, for the Teamsters to whatever, regardless of what Sean O'Brien's attitude is, to abide by that standard. Can you put a link to the Vivian article under your tweet and give the author credit? The author is mad you cropped her out of the screenshot. What? Where did I do that? What's the... Sure. Yeah. I meant no disrespect. My bad. My B to Ella Yerman and photographer Andy Jackson. Here, I'll link it under, I was going to talk about the article in the combo that we're having, but what's the, is this Ella Yerman? Is this the person who wrote it? Is this their, they're being weird and claiming you didn't credit them because they're trans? Yes. Well, I am a foe, famously. I think that chatter was baiting. No, yeah, they're joking, man. What are you talking about? This person is not actually mad. You're so dumb. God damn it, dude. Of course this person is joking. Wait, this is personal friend of Ella's here? That's a bit? Yes, this is a very common meme in the LGBT community. How the fuck do you guys still not know this? It's a year. It is a multiple years long bit now. Chatters are like, she claims Hassan viciously beat her. No, it's not. Yeah. Everybody calm down. Do not tell Hassan Abi you're trans is like a years long bit at this point. Is scaring you a part of the bit? I mean, I'm not scared. This is, you know, I meant no disrespect to this journalist. What do you fucking mean? I wasn't even thinking when I actually cropped this. Yeah, this is where it initially started. Chad is too autistic for the bit. Yeah, I know. It's so funny. Anyway, let's get back to the matter at hand here. As I was talking about, the Trump administration is not pro-union at all. They're not pro-labor at all. So I don't know what they're trying to do with the tariffs. Like, will it boost American manufacturing? It has the capacity to do so. Having said that, given their antagonistic relationship with labor across the board and the many policy initiatives they've taken so far to undermine labor union and labor protections across the board, I don't see this being a boon for the American working class in the way that Trump presents it.
Chinese and Russian ships all over the place. And we're not going to be able to do that. We're not relying on Denmark or anybody else to take care of that situation. And we're not talking about peace for the United States. We're talking about world peace. We're talking about international security. And right now, you look at it, you have warships all over the place going through right along Greenland. We're not going to let that happen. We cannot let that happen. Or if it's going to happen, we have to be protective of our country. And more important, really protection not only of our country, of the world. So Greenland is very important. In modern day weaponry makes Greenland 100 years ago, less so. But also, if you notice also some of those, you could call them roadways, okay? They're water roadways. But some of those areas...
Yeah, peace through strength, undermining labor, pro-labor through undermining labor unions, you know, all of it. It's just bizarre world. Everything he says is the exact opposite of the reality.
Are opening up, and they're opening up icebreakers out there. They're opening them, and by just nature, they're opening up, and they're headed right into China, right into Russia, and we have no choice. The answer is he's there with his wonderful wife, Usha. They're there right now. They landed a couple of hours ago, and they will represent us well. But Greenland's very important for the peace of the world, not us, the peace of the entire world. And I think Denmark understands it. I think the European Union understands it. And if they don't, we're going to have to explain it to them.
Would you like to visit Greenland, Mr. President?
Well, we're going to see what happens with that. I'm getting reports on that, and we're looking at a report. You're right. They make a lot of drones. Iran makes a lot of drones. They make very effective drones, too. They do very effectively at some things. But Iran is very high on my list of things to watch. And as you probably know, I sent them a letter just recently, and I said, you're going to have to make a decision one way or the other, and we're going to either have to talk and talk it out, or very bad things are going to happen to Iran, and I don't want that to happen. My big preference, and I don't say this through strength or weakness, my big preference is we work it out with Iran. But if we don't work it out, bad things are going to happen to Iran. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. We're either going to talk and then I'm going to bomb you, or we're not going to talk and then I'm going to bomb you anyway. Either way, you're getting bombed. It's cool. Cool stuff. Really cool stuff in general. What is the New York Times saying about this? Signal leak bared U.S. aims in Yemen, but defeating Houthis won't be easy. News analysis from the New York Times. U.S. officials seek to curb the militants' attacks on ships in the Red Sea, but the group has not been deterred by strikes in the Biden era and won't be beaten by air power alone, experts say. Now, this is a New York Times report on this, analysis on this. Peter Eves, reporter from Washington, Ismail Nar from Dubai, United Arab Emirates. The truth of the matter is, yes, the Houthis and the Yemeni people are undeterred. A decade of genocide and famine induced by American-backed Saudi coalition forces, UAE coalition forces, did not stop them from striking back against Saudi Arabia. And seemingly, the American bombing campaign, Operation Prosperity Guardian, did not stop them from consistently shutting off areas of trade alongside their coastline into the Red Sea. Okay? They have not stopped. And they still haven't stopped, by the way. This past week, 12 days of consistent bombing every single day in Yemen. Because they have not They have not stopped bombing Yemen. Has left them as determined as ever. The bombshell publication of a group chat, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Whether it's now or several weeks from now, high-level hopes in the signal chat, which became public after the Atlantic Chief. This part we already covered endlessly. But the reason why I'm talking about this is because, like, this is the New York Times saying, like, you have to do more war, boots on the ground, military warfare. Middle East experts said the Iran-backed Houthis won't be easily beaten. Few wars have been won with air power alone, and some military experts say it will be no different than the Houthis. It will be no different with the Houthis. The biggest shipping companies have little appetite for returning to the Red Sea. They have found a workaround that, while inconvenient and costly, allows them to avoid those lanes and deliver goods on time. James R. Holes, the J.C. Wiley chair of the Maritime Strategy at the Naval War College in Rhode Island, said that even during the U.S. war to remove Iraq from Kuwait, when air power was at its apex, a land invasion was necessary. Defeating the Houthis might require an occupation. Defeating the Houthis might require an occupation. Get excited, okay? Get excited, everybody. Let me tell you, war, baby. The #1 peaceful president, the most peaceful dove of all time, is going to send your ass down to Yemen to go fight to defend Israel's right to be able to continue killing as many Palestinian children as possible in Gaza. That's right. You might have to control turf to win, Mr. Holmes said. Aircraft cannot occupy territory, however valuable a supporting capability they are for armies and Marines. The Houthis may even use the U.S. military strikes, analysts say, to bolster their position in Yemen and farther afield, as other Iranian proxies like the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah have suffered heavy loss at the hands of Israel. The latest U.S. strikes are a direct answer to the Houthi prayers to have a war with the U.S., said Faria al-Muslimi, a Yemeni research fellow at Chatham House, a research institute based in London. He said the group wants to drag the U.S. into a larger regional escalation. And by God, we're going to give them that, okay? Not just New York Times. Jewish Insider. VP's reluctance to support Houthi strikes concerns some leading GOP senators. Punchbowl News backs up Jewish Insider's reporting on concerns from GOP senators over Vance's pushback against Houthi strikes. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. This morning, Josh Kraushaar ran a hit piece against me in Jewish Insider, which has become an anti-JD rag. It has many problems, including 7 anonymous quotes from cowardly Republicans. But most glaring factual error is the below, which says the Houthis killed 3 Americans last January. Actually, the group responsible for the attack was the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, which is an entirely different militia group. Now, you might say this is evidence of Kraushaar being the biggest hack in Washington, and you may be correct. Another very plausible explanation is that he's the dumbest journalist in Washington. Either way, shocking an error like this could get through his vaunted editorial process. Yeah, sick him. It's so funny to think that J.D. Vance is not going to play the role of a loyal dog to Donald Trump. Like J.D. Vance, who got the position because he is the best at brown nosing, is not going to still turn around and be like, yeah, no, Mr. President, you want to fucking do troops in Yemen? I love that. I'll lead the charge for you. It's so funny. Yeah, dude, J.D. Vance himself was really, really not on board. Like, there is no other country on the planet that does this to the United States of America, or just in general. Like, I cannot. It's so insane that there are entire media operations that masquerade as Jewish media operations, for the record, like Jewish Insider, that just simply are pro-Israel dish rags that get to fucking bully people for not being sufficiently pro-Israel. People who are themselves very much pro-Israel, by the way. There is no world in which J.D. Vance is not fucking unconditionally pro-Israel. Like, what are we talking about? Jesus Christ. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. And he has to respond. The reason why he had to respond to that is because, oh no, God forbid. Do you guys understand how psychotic this is? I'm not alone in this, right? I hope. Like, Signal group chat leaks. You got the New York Times paper of record writing analysis on how we have to do boots on the ground warfare in Yemen. Bombing Yemen is not enough. Simply bombing Yemen is not enough. Obama did it. Trump did it first term. Biden did it. And Trump is doing it again. It's not enough, clearly. They're undeterred. We must deter them. How do we deter them? Boots on the ground. It's so crazy. Holy fuck. Like, what are we doing? This is not a country, okay? We are not a serious country at all. This is insane. Anti-Semite. Stop you. Stop you. They will say you are an anti-Semite. Yeah, okay, first of all, they do say that already. So, welcome to the anti-Semitism headquarters over here, okay? Like, are you new? I was nominated for an award. Genuine question, just can't be like Iraq, right? When we invaded, 70% of Americans believe Saddam was involved in 9/11. They would have to do a shit ton of manufactured consent to get us to that point again. I mean, judging by what liberals say or what liberals said under the Biden administration, I'll be honest with you. I think that they don't really need to do much because the remnants of all of the consent that was manufactured for the war on terror post 9/11 in America is still very much here. So they don't need to do much. They just need to be like, they're backed by Iran. Iran is big bad. We have to kill them. They hate America. They're burning American flags, which they are, which, by the way, they should. Like, are you kidding me? They're burning American flags and Israeli flags. They're anti-Semitic, you know? What I don't understand is why no one is making the calculation of deterrence. Like, I guess they're expecting Iran and Iranian restraint to be maintained in this process, and that Iran won't actually retaliate or give the weapons to Yemen to retaliate themselves if they choose to do so, even though they have been doing that already by lighting Saudi oil refineries on fire and just causing a complete collapse of the global economy. Like, that's it. That is the weapon here. They don't need nukes. They can just like dump payload on top of oil refineries and just nuke the global economy. America is a threat to Americans, LMFAO reaching. Yeah. They don't have the capability of arming Yemen in a ground invasion. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that a permanent military occupation in Yemen will be devastating for America as it is devastating for Yemen. But it'll be especially, and I'm going to say this again, devastating for America. And in that process, they will literally fucking light half of the oil refineries on fire. They have done so in the past as a symbolic gesture before. I don't think Saudi Arabia wants that either. And if you weren't so horny to defend Israel inside of the State Department, you would have to recognize that that is a very foreseeable outcome of all of this. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why they're that horny. They're like, no, we have to. Because the other pathway out of this, of course, as I have mentioned time and time again, is to rein in America's attack dog and to say, you're done. You're done. It's over. You're done. It's over. It's done. No more. Okay? Enough. That's it. That's all you need to do. All it takes is a phone call. If they stop, if America forces Israel to stop the genocide in Gaza, Yemen no longer implements a blockade in the Red Sea. Okay? That's it. We already know that. They have done it. And that's it. That's all it would take. That's all. That is something that has happened thus far. So I just I don't understand how like that is such an impossible goal from the perspective of the American State Department, rather than lighting the entire region and potentially oil refineries on fire in the process.
Latest on the Trump administration's immigration crackdown spreading to college campuses as federal agents take action to detain and deport foreign students across the country. Our chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky has the latest. Good morning, Aaron.
Chad, did Hassan cover the anti-Hamas protests? I'm interested to hear his take, but can't see. Yes, I did. 2 days in a row after they happened.
And good morning to you, Lindsay. This is raising alarms on campuses across the country, but the Trump administration is signaling it's only the beginning. This morning, the Trump administration is targeting a half-dozen international students as part of a crackdown on pro-Palestinian campus activism. The latest, Alireza Daruti, an Iranian graduate student at the University of Alabama. The Department of Homeland Security saying this individual posed significant national security concerns, though his attorney told ABC News he knows of none, and said Daruti is pursuing a doctorate in mechanical engineering. His detention followed this arrest of Tufts University doctoral student Rumeysa Ozturk. Federal agents in hoodies and masks surrounding the Turkish national, placing her in handcuffs and leading her away. This morning, she's in an immigration detention facility in Louisiana after being accused of engaging in activities in support of Hamas. Öztürk, a Fulbright scholar, co-wrote this op-ed criticizing Tufts for failing to recognize Palestinian genocide. Hamas is not mentioned.
She makes sure that she doesn't offend anyone, let alone, possibly incite violence. She is not that, but she's not aggressive.
No criminal charges have been filed against any of the detained students. Their right to free speech is protected, but the administration says their right to be in the country is not.
Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa.
The courts have not weighed in on the administration's approach, which experts say is unprecedented.
I have not seen before the kinds of aggressive tactics ICE is now taking to apprehend students in their dormitories on campus or near campus for immigration enforcement types of actions.
And later this morning, Rebecca, a judge in Newark, New Jersey, is going to take up the case of detained Columbia University graduate Mahmoud Khalil, whose lawyers say is being held unlawfully. The administration says Khalil poses a risk to foreign policy because of his organization of protests against Israel. Rebecca.
All right, Aaron, thank you.
So you got all these people coming to the country, taking away scholarships, different activities for Americans, but they're going on these college campuses and they're protesting. We see linkages to Hamas. We see linkages.
Yeah, totally. I tweeted about this earlier, by the way, and predictably every stupid person with a blue check mark responded with just incorrect information, I guess. But it bears repeating, and I will continue saying this until I guess the laws are changed. And I hope they don't change, for the record. But I said, something that gets brought up in conversation about ICE kidnapping students for not being pro-Israel enough is the government falsely claiming they support Hamas. And I want to make something very clear. Supporting Hamas is not a deportable offense. It absolutely falls under First Amendment protections. Okay? The bar for deportation or the revocation of your student visa or the revocation of your legal permanent residency status is infinitely higher than I don't like what you have to say. That is precisely why there is currently a legal battle taking place. And I don't know why. I mean, I do know why so many people just refuse to recognize this reality. But there were so many people. They're here on visas, bro. No country would allow them to do what they're doing on a visa. This country does. It's in the Constitution is what I responded with. They're here on visas, bro. They're here on visas. It's it doesn't matter. And one of the funniest ones was a dude trying to duke it out with Grok in my replies. And I'm trying to find it really quickly. I don't know if I can find it, but it was just a guy who kept asking Grok if what I was saying was true. And then Grok being yes, what he's saying is true. And he just kept being well, do they have... does the First Amendment extend to non-citizens? And the Grok was yes, it does extend to non-citizens. He's well, what if these non-citizens are pro-Hamas? Oh, here it is. This is the funniest thing. First of all, I think I'm sorry, but if you're one of these guys that's constantly asking ChatGPT or Grok what the answer is, I really have an unfavorable opinion of you. I'm going to be as gentle and as polite as possible. Just fucking Google it on your own, okay? If you're constantly asking a chatbot what to think, I'm sorry, you are dumber than the dumbest human being. You have officially become dumber than the average person because you're I'm going to ask a fucking machine what to think. You're letting a machine that quite literally lies, and it's called hallucinations, okay? And it's not its own fault. It's just, that's just what the AI is. What's the difference between asking ChatGPT and Google? The difference is you're so fucking lazy that you want that shit to be soft served to you. That's the difference. Asking Google is already easier than going to the library and doing a lot of reading and doing the research yourself if you choose to see fit. But asking ChatGPT, on the other hand, is unironically dumber than Google. And Google has its own fucking AI tool as well, which I also despise. It's wrong. It's wrong. It has the capacity to hallucinate. Okay? You have to rely on critical thinking skills. You have to keep using your brain. I know it sounds insane. that I'm saying this, but like, please. But it's additionally, you are the lowest form of human is basically, this is, to me, this is the equivalent of asking your toaster what to do. Okay. Oh man, I have a real big decision ahead of myself, toaster. What do I do? Toaster doesn't respond, but you're like, but please respond to me, toaster. Like, this is so dumb. In any case, at Grok, does sympathizing with Hamas fall under First Amendment? Expressing sympathy for Hamas is generally protected under the First Amendment as free speech, provided it doesn't involve material support, e.g. money, training, or incitement to violence. Legal cases like Holder v. Humanitarian Law Project distinguish protected advocacy from unprotected actions. Despite Hamas's terrorist designation, independent speech remains safeguarded, though the issue sparks debate over security versus rights. Does this include green card holders? Green card holders likely have a First Amendment right to express sympathy for Hamas without criminal punishment, unless it involves material support for or incitement. However, they face potential deportation risks under immigration law, unlike U.S. citizens who are fully protected. Recent cases like Mahmoud Khalil's arrest highlight this disparity, with debates ongoing about free speech versus national security. This answer isn't very clear. Do they or don't they have First Amendment rights? Is deporting them legal or illegal? If they're deported, on what legal grounds are they deported? Green card holders have First Amendment rights, but these may not prevent deportation under immigration law. Deporting them for speech is legal if tied to security risks like supporting terrorism, though it's debated. Grounds typically fall under INA, e.g. aiding groups like Hamas. He just like, how are you getting owned by an artificial chatbot? You could have spared yourself this embarrassing moment. You didn't mention what kinds of support in your original tweet. Supporting Hamas is not a deportable offense. It absolutely falls under, we're talking about ICE kidnapping students for not being pro-Israel enough. Of course, I'm not talking about offering material support to Hamas. Okay, you can't do that unless you're offering material support to the IRA, in which case you can do that, and it's a favorite American pastime. One of the few instances where at least a lot of Americans were on the right side of one fucking conflict and did not align with the colonial entity there. I want to make this very clear, okay? It is already super illegal to do those things. And it's also virtually impossible to do those things. There is no way that you can offer material support to Hamas. You can't send them weapons. You can't send them bombs. You can't send them money, okay? That's not a thing you can do. It is impossible. Unless you fucking figured out like a cryptocurrency wallet or something, in which case it's still very much illegal, and the government most likely will prosecute you to the full extent of the law. Saying with your words that you support Hamas, even if you were to say that, is not illegal. No matter how much it hurts your fucking feelings, no matter how much it makes you scared. It makes you scared. Okay? Saying you support the Ansar Allah movement or the Houthis or the fucking Iranian state is not illegal, no matter how much you want it to be.
To other foreign governments as well, Marco Rubio has made the commitment that he's going to revoke their visa. He said that he's already revoked 300 plus visas. Here's the Secretary of State.
It might be more than 300 at this point. We do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa.
You're saying it could be more than 300
sure,
visas?
I hope. At some point, I hope we run out because we've gotten rid of all of them. But we're looking every day for these lunatics.
Right, and so everyone thinks Mahmoud Khalil. But when Mahmoud Khalil was tossed, the word came out to these Palestinian organizations linked to Hamas or not, that the Americans are not going to tolerate the campus unrest, the takeover of buildings. What we
yeah, notice how he's saying whether they support Hamas or not. Like, they're not even hiding it too. It's not like they're fucking hiding it. Like, they're pretty open about it. They're saying, it doesn't even matter if you support Hamas or not. You can't be disruptive on campus. A direct violation of the First Amendment. Even a support for Hamas in and of itself, supporting Hamas is not a punishable offense. This is ridiculous. Just like supporting Israel, which is an infinitely worse force in the region than Hamas ever could be, is not a violation that causes you to get deported. Hasman says you're wrong. I know. That doesn't mean what you think it means. If you had any fucking brain cells, you would understand that isn't the argument that you think it is. As Asmongold says you're wrong is such a funny statement in and of itself. It's like, okay, it's like saying, oh yeah, my dad with a fucking high school education thinks you're wrong. And before you say Asman went to college, doesn't matter. He's LARPing as a person who is a dumbass in an effort to cultivate a fan base of dumbasses. Yeah. He also thinks the real severe violation of free speech is when titties are small in video games. Not exactly, you know, the sharpest fucking tool in the tool shed. Even though he is actually a lot smarter than he puts, a lot smarter than he presents himself as. He's just LARPing.
Saw it almost every Ivy League institution outside Princeton. Well, I didn't really see much there. Now, not only is the campus is going to lose, the college is going to lose money, but they're going to lose people. Now, yesterday, we found out that we had one person self-deport from Colombia after Khalil was tossed out. And she sat down in Canada with Al Jazeera to talk about what she thought, why she left.
Oh, what a great home for her. What did she say, Rachel?
She said the moment Mahmoud got arrested, it sent shockwaves across Colombia's community. He is a green card holder. That's when I realized I have no rights in this system at all. Oh. It was only a matter of time before they caught hold of me.
Exactly.
Rachel, this has inspired some disagreement between us. We normally agree on 90% of the issues, but you're worried about free speech.
I'm not. So first of all, I would never be a student in, say, Mexico City and go and protest their government. I'm just not interested. I think that's just rude, and you're not being a good guest, so I'm with that. I also don't believe in violence. You know, I'm a peacenik. Yeah. I don't think we should have violence, and I don't believe in terrorists. I don't want anyone here who has ties. That said, I am concerned about free speech. I am a free speech absolutist. And so I wonder, what is the criteria here? Should we be deporting people who say criticize America and American policies? What's the line? Or is it only if you criticize Israeli government policy? So there are a lot of really good people right now who are very concerned about the chilling effect this could have.
That's crazy to hear from fucking Fox News, dude. Hey, don't say that. Don't say that. He's gonna nut. He's getting so close. He's getting so fucking close. It's like, what did you say? Did you say, deporting people that are anti-America? Oh, yeah. Most people at Fox News 100% want that, by the way.
Not just on these green card holders and these people on visas, but what's the message to American citizens about free speech?
I wouldn't worry about American citizens. I mean, it's not American citizens. These are people on student visas and green cards.
No, I'm just saying the chilling effect. If you're seeing people,
I don't care. I mean,
are they connected to Hamas or are they just criticizing Israeli policy?
The lawyer I talked to this week, who's representing 9 families, says there's direct linkages to Hamas that they posted. This group, October 6th, get ready for October.
Dude, I can't believe they're saying that. I can't believe they're unironically going along with that fucking stupid ass lawsuit, dude. I cannot. I mean, the well of depravity is endless for criminal support for Israel, but god damn, dude, that one is like a particularly schizophrenic lawsuit. Like that one is so crazy. Like, yeah, dude, the fucking Columbia Students for Justice in Palestine are linked up directly with Hamas. There's a new lawsuit that was presented by a dude who was literally, or a lady, I don't know, well, a person who was an Israeli who was kidnapped by Hamas and came back and basically said, Hamas. When I was being held captive, Hamas told me that they were directly in contact with fucking Columbia students. And the proof for it is that the Columbia SJP account that was dormant over summer break was no longer dormant on October 7. Before October 7 happened, okay? And not because like school was back in session, but because the implication is that they knew, yeah, in the tunnels of Gaza in early October, Yahya Sinwar, all right, this operation must be of utmost secrecy. Iran can't know. Hezbollah can't know. Even Haniya can't know. Abu Ubaidah, can we at least tell Columbia SJP Sinwar? Okay, fine, as long as they promise to keep quiet. And they're lying about when the fucking thing was published. They didn't even publish it, 3 minutes before the attack. They published it fucking on October 5th, 2023 because they had gotten back to school. One of the most psychotic things I've ever seen.
October 7th. So there's no doubt about it. There's organizations here. There's also the hostages were saying that the Hamas hostage holders were bragging to them about their access to American students, the students in America, and that they were going to win the power of basically the publicity and marketing. They also tossed out somebody at Tufts University, caught this PhD student. They also threw out yesterday at Harvard. They threw out a Kasina Petrova, who's a Russian research associate, also with anti-American activity. You're over here, you're protesting this country and our allies. Goodbye.
I would just say this, Rachel. I see your point. I see how it could be chilling. But I want chills to run down the spines of not only terrorists, but people that are residents here. You're a visitor here. You don't have the right, be on your best behavior here. And what we're dealing with is people that don't love the country, people that have radical ties, and I think they're trying to use our laws against us at the time. So I think what the Secretary of State is saying, look, I want to find visa violations. Many of these people have ties to foreign governments. They're trying to have dissent. They're trying to get us to be at each other's necks at each other's necks as well. And so you have to send a message to the people that are visitors. Don't come in my house and spray paint on my wall.
Take over Hamilton Hall.
Look, we have to deal with
I agree with that.
We have the American citizens that are degenerates. We have to deal with them. That is a part of our society. We don't have to deal with the visitors that are here. And I think that's what the Secretary of State is doing.
You know, when I was a child in a military brat growing up, I lived overseas almost exclusively. And when we went to I attended Department of Defense schools, and we had to take a class called Host Nation class, where we learned.
Yeah, except if you took that class as a fucking foreign student in the United States of America, the class would tell you that you are well within your rights to literally, through speech and through protest, unironically defend any fucking group you want to. It is a fundamental, it's the first one. It's the first right. The fuck do you mean?
Learned about the host nation, and we learned how to be a guest, a proper guest in people's country. That is my primary concern with this. And the other concern I have is the thing you touched on, but which needs more attention to, which is the fact that our universities are prioritizing foreign students because they pay full rate tuition. And a lot of these slots belong to American kids. How many valedictorians aren't getting into these elite schools?
All of them.
Because
if they're white.
If they're white males. This is something, America is for Americans.
That's right.
And we need to prioritize that. So I think there's a lot to be said. But let's also be careful, because we don't want to leave the impression on the world that we are not for free speech.
I'm Steve Doocy. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart.
What do you mean? What do you fucking mean? You are that, though. You are anti-free speech. Like, it's too late, you know?
And right off the top, another round of executive orders from President Donald Trump. He signed 3 orders yesterday. One of them is to end collective bargaining at agencies involved with national security. Another is meant to remove, quote, improper ideology from the Smithsonian Institution. The third is to make the District of Columbia safe and beautiful. And just moments ago, the president posted this on social media. He expanded on his order to make D.C. safe and beautiful, saying, I will work with the mayor on this, and if it does not happen, we'll have no choice but to do it myself. Trump also called on Congress to address funding to the nation's capital. So let's bring in CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro to help us break all of this down. Happy Friday to you, Aaron. We've seen the president sign orders, but the impact can get lost in the shuffle. How can we expect to see these orders play out?
Hey, Muko, good to be with you. I will start with the executive order about the Smithsonian, where you saw President Trump essentially appoint Vice President Vance to lead a task force to review exhibits, programs that they believe are, quote, improper or have divisive ideology based on race. In a fact sheet provided by the White House, they specifically cite exhibits at the National Museum of African Americans, as well as the National Museum of Women, showing transgender women in their exhibits. That is something.
This is, by the way, shocking. But this is yet another anti-free speech measure, anti-free expression measure. The federal government interfering. The federal government interfering with these sorts of affairs is anti-speech. It's pure fascist nonsense. They want to do historical revisionism.
That one, the task force will look into, as well as look at prohibiting federal funding for exhibits that they disagree with. We know the Smithsonian's got about $1 billion of federal funding in the fiscal year of 2024. And that other big one, the one about Washington, D.C., also creates a task force to focus on ramping up law enforcement here when it comes to immigration enforcement, as well as a quick line in the fact sheet about expediting concealed carry licenses. There are strict gun rules and laws in Washington, D.C. This task force, which remains to be seen what exactly authority they
What is
have,
happening today?
since we don't know if there are any actual D.C. City Council members that will be on this task force.
Did they fucking drop an EMP on D.C. or something? What's going on? Every goddamn broadcast from DC is just like patchy as hell. It's windy today. Oh my God. Richest nation on the planet, and its fucking capital bricks when it's windy. What a pathetic display. Trump's gonna fix the Trump's gonna do DEI. He's eliminating DEI. Turns out DEI or die is also DEI was also the formative puzzle piece that was keeping this entire thing together, even with infrastructure, even with the ISPs. We need more gay line workers. I genuinely don't understand how. I mean, I don't know what the fuck's going on here. Like, why is it messed up?
Certainly looking to exude more power over the nation's capital.
Yeah, clearly so. We also continue to cover fallout from the Signal group chat incident. Aaron, can you give us insight into how the president is reacting behind the scenes?
Yeah, sources have told CBS News that President Trump continues to privately vent frustration over the episode, and he's closely monitoring to see whether the fallout, which really hit a peak throughout this week, will continue. The issue is, quote, still a hot potato, one White House official told CBS News. Sources have also said that Trump has been irritated with National Security Advisor Mike Waltz for having the number reporter Jeffrey Goldblum in his phone in the first place. And we know that there have been debates internally over
close enough
should resign, but eventually you saw President Trump come out with a message saying that he believes and still has confidence in his National Security Advisor.
Okay, Aaron Navarro, thank you so much for joining us today.
Representative, another story that relates to the media today. Have you seen the new information revealed by The Atlantic magazine about the Signal texts?
We're talking about NPR and PBS, not The Atlantic.
But do you believe that this was classified information that was shared on that
No,
group?
the administration has said it is not classified information. I think this is a continuance of someone like you to try to push an issue that isn't even relevant, and I think that we're carrying on. Thank you.
Detail of timings and weapons, is that not classified information?
Yes. Yeah. Anybody else?
Should the Defence Secretary and the Vice...
Wait, what country are you
from? The UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap.
I hate that she did my favorite national pastime and made it cringe. I will never forgive Marjorie Taylor Greene for making bravophobia, Britophobia a spectacularly cringe endeavor. I never thought I would ever see the day where someone shitting on a British person, an American especially, shitting on a British person would be something that I'm not in support of. I guess I don't have this unshakable loyalty to always dunking on the Brits. There it is. It finally happened. It finally freaking happened, dude.
About your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
Okay, do you care?
No. You should care about your own
Okay,
borders.
do you care about American lives being put at risk?
Let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country? What about all the women that are raped by migrants?
Do you care about American?
No, do you care? Okay, you're
do you care about American lives being put at risk? About service members fighting for your country?
I don't care
and
about
your Vice President and your Defense Secretary?
Yeah, this is an American journalist. Thank you.
I'm an American, and I'd like to hear your answer to what she's asking.
I'm not answering her question
right,
because I don't care about her network. If you would like to ask.
He goes, yeah, okay, I'm an American journalist. I'd like to know.
I can
answer. Do you have any concerns whatsoever about the complete disregard of operational security from the top level of this administration?
You want to know about complete disregard about operational security? You should talk about the Biden administration and how they ripped our borders open to terrorists, cartel, child sex trafficking.
Oh my God. I think I really dislike how stupid they are and how incompetent they are and how they can kind of get away with being this stupid and this incompetent. Because it shows me that there is enough audience for this kind of thing.
Trafficking, human trafficking, and drug trafficking across our borders for 4 years. The Trump administration is doing a great job, and I stand by their statements.
So you have
I stand by their
comment
statements.
whatsoever about
My comment to you is I'm
incompetence.
thankful to President Trump that he is leading us out of wars, that he's ending the war in Ukraine, where American lives could have been killed if Joe Biden was still president
talking about
today,
him.
whether he liked it or not. We're talking about NPR and PBS.
Yeah, she's so funny because she's like, and now those lives, instead of dying in Ukraine, will die in Yemen or Israel. Yeah, President Biden wanted our brave troops to go and die in Ukraine. I want our brave troops to go die in Yemen. What don't you understand? We need those boots on the ground somewhere. Boots got to be on the ground, folks. That's what they're made for. They're made for walking, and they're made for stomping on the global south.
Today, we're talking about fake news that was funded with federal funding from American taxpayers. That's what this is about today, not journalists from the UK.
A journalist is being vilified for exposing failings in the way that your government conducts itself. Is that not that journalist doing a good job? Does Defence Secretary Hegseth need to resign over this, Representative?
Absolutely not. He's doing a great job.
He's doing a great job, but he was putting American service members' lives at risk.
Your country's going to put
This is deflect
lives fighting a war in Ukraine that's not even a member of NATO.
Is this an exercise in deflection?
This should be an exercise in you worrying about your own country.
Martha, I mean, quite a spiky interaction there with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, we've come to expect those sorts of responses from her, but I think it also gives us a sense of just how this administration and those around it are reacting at every twist.
Taking advantage of the 35% off on gifted subs by peppering the chat with 50 bones. Ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and MBs, my interview with the doctor from Cuba and DSA representative will take place in half an hour. My interview with Vivian, Elon Musk's estranged daughter, will be later in the day.
In turn, when it comes to this particular incident.
Yeah, Marjorie Greene is one of the most aggressive readers of the fraying Trump playbook when confronted by crisis like this. It is a strategy of discredit, distract, deny, and she is an absolute master at it. You heard her there reacting to those questions about whether this was classified information or not. First of all, talking about the Biden administration, then talking about America's border problem, and then in a remarkable act of contortion, focusing on the UK and problems that perhaps the UK in her mind is facing. So this is not just something that Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying. This is, what Team Trump is doing as a whole when they're reacting to this fiasco that's unfolding. They're casting the villain of this piece as the journalist at the centre of it, Jeffrey Goldberg, who is the editor of The Atlantic magazine, who was inadvertently invited into this group chat. You have Donald Trump calling him a sleazebag. Michael Waltz, the national security advisor, equating him to a journalist trying to make a name for himself. Team Trump clearly trying to tough out this scandal, and in this post-truth world, you wouldn't bet against them.
Well, Martha, thank you so much for all of your reporting there.
They're known as the Army of White Coats, and their medical teams have been dispatched from Havana to help at least 16 countries, including South Africa, Qatar, and Italy, battle the pandemic. So why are doctors from Cuba, a country with one of the lowest GDPs per capita in the world, so special? The Cuban medical staff sent around the world come from the Henry Reeve Emergency Medical Contingent. It was started in 2005 by the late Fidel Castro and specializes in rapid response to natural disasters and outbreaks. Since then, the unit has helped 3.5 million people in 21 countries. But Cuba's medical internationalism goes back further than 2005 and is rooted in the struggle against colonialism. It all goes back to the Cuban Revolution in 1959, when Castro overthrew Fulgencio Batista's dictatorship and established a communist regime. Free healthcare and education were identified as universal human rights, so the country invested in its own healthcare system. But it also built an international outreach.
Illegal! This is why we can't do what? We must do everything in our power to stop this. How dare they? Why aren't they shipping weapons and bombs to other countries? Oh wait, they used to. Except, the weapons and bombs and military support that they were offering to other countries were on the right side of history, and America was seemingly on the wrong side of those conflicts as well. Apartheid South Africa comes to mind. Anyway,
effort in order to respond to situations like natural disasters, as well as help other countries with their anti-colonial struggles. During the Algerian War of Independence, Cuba sent their doctors to help after French doctors left the country. Some of those wounded in the war were even brought back to Cuba for medical treatment. Such medical missions were essentially free, but they served to encourage diplomacy and help Cuba overcome political isolation due to the US embargo. Since Cuba sent their doctors to Algeria in the 60s, the countries have remained friends and allies. Today, Cuba has one of the highest number of doctors per capita in the world at 8.2 doctors per 1,000 people. That's 3 times higher than the US. But how does the country even have that many doctors? In 1959, when Castro assumed power, half of the 6,300 doctors in the country defected. So the country concentrated its efforts on training new doctors. They put in place an emergency accelerated curriculum in 1963 so that they could realize their vision for a free and accessible public health system. They also invited students from newly independent African and Caribbean countries to enroll. Academic records were not the only criteria. So was a commitment to solidarity and serving communities without access to health. The program has changed a lot over the years, but there's one.
What the fuck? That was crazy. Did y'all see that? That was wild. They got me. They got me. God damn it, they got me. I got hit with a CIA heart attack gun. My stream did. Right as I was about to read the one chatter who said my wife was a doctor in Cuba and now she's in the United States, also a doctor in the United States. They are basically property of the state. Like right as I was about to read the reactionary chatter, be like, this is actually bad. I love this take because there it is. I look, I love this take because this is what they fucking say about like any kind of nationalized healthcare system as well. My wife left Cuba. She was a doctor there and now a doctor in the USA. They are considered property of the state. Yes, dude. Yes. What you're describing is unironically a nationalized healthcare system. Okay? Or rather, you subtly wanted to say you got a bad bitch for a wife, Hey, listen up, chatters. I got a Latina wife who's a doctor. Like, sweet flex, man. That's cool. I'm proud of you.
Cuba's medical education system exists within the healthcare system.
My wife is a public defender in America, and in that country, they are considered property of the state. I know. Property like Marine, but not doing fucked up shit. Exactly. Anyway, let's continue.
Instead of teaching hospitals, there's teaching at community centers and polyclinics. Polyclinics are community-based clinics with primary care physicians, specialists, and diagnostic testing. And each clinic tailors their medical approach to the needs of that community. Medical and nursing students intern in this national system from their very first year. Today, Cuba has the largest medical university in the world, the Latin American School of Medicine, and they offer scholarships to students from around the world who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford medical school. But it's not just medical training that Cuba succeeded at. They've also innovated in the biotech industry, partly because of sanctions. In the 80s, their doctors developed vaccines preventing dengue fever and meningitis. They've developed a number of successful drugs that help with everything from diabetic foot ulcers to HIV and hepatitis. But in 1998, Cuba's free medical missions embraced the free market. The relatively poor country realized that they could tap into their robust healthcare to boost the economy. 30,000 doctors were sent to Venezuela, and in return, Cuba bought oil from Venezuela below market prices. Cuba then set up permanent missions which the country would be paid for in South Africa, Qatar, Brazil, Algeria, and Kenya. Leasing healthcare professionals to 67 countries around the world brings in $11 billion a year. But how does it work? During these permanent missions, doctor salaries and living expenses are paid for by the countries they're working in. But the Cuban government also gets a cut. Reports suggest that between 75 and 90% of the salary goes to the government, but the doctors still end up earning.
By the way, this is literally the reason why the American government wants to put an end to it. Yeah. It's crazy to think that like these dudes found a way out of the insane, the completely unjustifiable sanctions and trade embargo that they were placed under by America, the world's largest superpower, who was mad that they had a successful socialist revolution against the America-backed dictator, that they just never let Cuba have a moment to be itself, a moment to recognize its fucking autonomy, its sovereignty. And ever since then, we've just been punishing them for this crime of doing a successful revolution. And no matter what, like, they find ways out of it due to ingenuity, due to resilience, due to central control and central planning. And even then, it's like America will never stop being the biggest evil villain of all time, in spite of it all.
A lot more than they would in Cuba. But some doctors aren't happy with the arrangement and have complained of harsh living and working conditions. In 2006, the US created the Cuban Medical Professional Parole Program. It granted visas to any Cuban doctors who wanted to defect.
We just found Chatter's wife, by the way.
The program ended in 2017, but before that, it's estimated that 7,000 doctors defected. US officials have called Cuban international medical missions human trafficking and modern slavery. Cuba's health ministry says this isn't the case, and the US is trying to undermine their missions and curb revenue they make to put pressure on the country. In 2018, Cuba pulled thousands of doctors from Brazil when the country's right-wing president Jair Bolsonaro called the doctors slaves and terrorists and threatened.
Yeah, Bolsonaro saying this is slavery is funny because, like, you know, he loves slavery. I don't know.
Threatened to cancel medical cooperation agreements. More than 8,000 Cuban doctors have been stationed in remote areas in Brazil where it's difficult to get.
Have you ever spoken about the absolute pathetic grift that is Asmongold's current content, or do you think he just saw your success and said, I'm going to do the Nazi version of that? Yes, I have spoken about it. I even briefly alluded to it earlier today. At this point, I just kind of like crack jokes about it because we've known about this for quite some time. He has been doing it for a while. He's completely restructured his content around basically being Bizarro Hassan. I shower every day. I work out every day. I am on the right side of issues every day. He is the exact opposite. I'm political. He's apolitical. I leave my house every day. I go touch grass every day. Yeah.
Brazilians to work. But the situation has changed because of the coronavirus. Brazil says it could hire back Cuban doctors that are still in the country. Dozens of other countries have also sent requests to Cuba to send emergency teams of doctors. The US says that Havana is exploiting the crisis in their own doctors and criticized countries who want to use them to fight coronavirus. But with more than 250,000 people now dead from coronavirus, is now the time to criticize medical missions which could save lives?
Let's talk about there's more to talk about before I move on to Elon Musk and Vivian. Well, I do want to talk about Elon Musk in general. Jokes aside, you are the more apolitical between the two of you. You have a set of beliefs based on empathy and actual common sense for daily living. He's a reactionary weirdo, as every one of his convictions colored by reactionary political sentiment. Yeah. Oh, part of the reason why I'm interviewing a doctor from Cuba is because the Trump administration has taken new initiatives specifically to undermine countries that have good relations with Cuba and are they allow or they get Cuban doctors to come and help with healthcare in their countries. Now, there's a bunch of Caribbean nations that do this. Jamaica obviously is one of these countries, and Marco Rubio actually landed in Jamaica earlier today. And as you guys understand, here's the consent manufacturing machine. Caribbean leaders deny U.S. claims that Cuban health workers are victims of forced labor. But here it is. Marco Rubio landed in Jamaica aiming to spear Cuban doctors providing crucial free healthcare across the region. But the Jamaican prime minister shut him down, making it clear he had no right to speak for Jamaica or undermine the work of the Cuban doctors.
We are, however, very careful not to exploit the Cuban doctors who are here. We ensure that they are treated within our labor laws and benefit like any other worker. So any characterization of the program by others certainly would not be applicable to Jamaica. We are ensuring that our program complies with all the international laws and standards to which we are a party to.
Ironically, Marco Rubio is trying to change the international rules and standards. Once again, the whole purpose of this visit and part of the reason why I'm having this conversation with a Cuban doctor in particular is because little Marco is lying and is also actively trying to stop this Cuban doctor process from happening. On his first stop to the Caribbean, Marco Rubio arrived in Jamaica intending to attack the Cuban medical brigades operating in the region, but at the press conference, the Jamaican Prime Minister, as you guys saw, shut him
Not
down.
about the provision of medical assistance. We have no problem with medical assistance. We have no problem with doctors. But
We have no problem with medical assistance, but fuck the doctors that offer it if they're Cuban. How dare you? Little Marco! Believe me, little Marco. Can we just, for a moment, acknowledge how wild it is to accuse the former slave colonies of slavery and exploitation? Yeah, and the reason why we are accusing the former slave colony of slavery and exploitation, okay, and then this also is like, you know, you can say this about Cuba and Jamaica both, obviously, but especially on the Cuban front, the reason why we're saying this is because they overcame a fucking brutal dictatorship that had not de jure, but de facto slavery still in their plantation structure. So it is wild that America is still not giving up on trying to be the biggest piece of shit in the room, no matter how big the room is, you know? Fantastic stuff. Thank you, America. Very cool. Very cool. Musk's XAI buys social media platform X for $45 billion. Musk's XAI acquires X in $45 billion all-stock deal. Wait, what? Combined company valued at $80 billion, Musk announces. XAI raised $6 billion at $40 billion valuation, sources say. Is this... Yeah, money is so fake. And I don't think there's any regulation left in the government anyway, especially against Elon Musk. But what the fuck? He's just like taking his right hand and shoving it in his left pocket. Like, what is happening here? This seems so fraudulent. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not the biggest business-minded guy, but I look at something like this and I'm like, is this even, like, what happened here? Okay, Elon has an AI company called XAI, also overinflated. He fundraises for XAI. Then he takes XAI and acquires the company he had acquired prior, Twitter, X, and places it under the banner of XAI. Combined company value is now at $80 billion. So he paid himself in XAI stocks, which are likely far more valuable than Twitter at this point, for the company that he massively devalued. Isn't this what cryptocurrency wallets do? In order to artificially boost the value of a particular cryptocurrency that they maintain, they'll just like sell it back to themselves. Yeah. They sell it between crypto wallets that they have. Yeah, wash trading. Now, of course, because that's like an insecure, unverified, unprosecutable asset for the most part, because it's only a security that you can actually prosecute on if it's something that the SEC has interest in prosecuting, which the SEC obviously doesn't exist anymore. But this is basically the above board stock market version of this, it seems. The NVIDIA chips that XAI used were originally purchased by Tesla. XAI and X's futures are intertwined. Today, we officially take the step to combine the data, models, compute, distribution, computer. Everything is computer. Musk said in a post on X, adding the combined company would be valued at $80 billion. The billionaire's AI startup. Does anyone have a YouTube video describing this? Because or talking about whether or not this is illegal, because it seems kind of illegal. Speaking of Elon Musk doing illegal shit, everything's computer. Speaking of Elon Musk doing illegal shit, he has announced $1 million for a Wisconsin voter in the Supreme Court race, which is, I can't even call this electioneering anymore, which is illegal. I don't know. This is like electioneering ranges from wearing a Trump hat to the fucking voter polls to I guess doing this technically. But this is like the most illegal version of that. Being like, hey, I'm gonna give you $1 million if you vote for this person in this particular race is like that's ridiculous. Now, the way that you try to get away with this is you can't say it's an election bribery. You can't say that you're directly trying to get someone to vote for your preferred candidate. Except I think Elon Musk is so stupid he made inferences. Here it is. Elon Musk has deleted this tweet from 1 a.m. about his upcoming talk in Wisconsin. The rules surrounding these checks have drawn some legal scrutiny. Anyway, the original tweet is no longer available. On Sunday night, I will give a talk in Wisconsin. Entrance is limited to those who have voted in the Supreme Court election. I will also personally hand over 2 checks for $1 million each in appreciation for you taking the time to vote. This is super important. Yeah, so he actually did this still kind of above board. Although I don't know if you can do that as a PAC. And I know that he's doing this with the America PAC. But technically, he's not saying you have to vote for my preferred candidate. Technically, he's saying Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul announces legal action against Elon Musk over interference in state's Supreme Court race. No. He didn't say he's giving entrance. Oh, he did. Entrance is limited to those who have voted in the Supreme Court election. No, I think the law states that you can't look. Offers, gives, lends, promises to give, lend, endeavors to procure anything of value or any office or employment or any privilege of immunity or for any elector or for any other person to go to or refrain from going to the polls, vote or refrain from vote. Oh, I guess you can't do go out to vote initiatives with like pay for play, go out to vote initiatives either. Oh, state law. Because I'm pretty sure he did this already at the federal level, and I don't think you can prosecute someone for saying I don't think you can prosecute someone for saying like, oh, I'm going to give one voter, not like a voter for Trump, but that's heavily implied. I'm going to give any voter. I love people who vote. And I'm a big fan of voters. I love voting. I want to reward people for voting. I want people to go out and vote. And that's why one random, person is going to get, one random person who went out and voted is going to get money. And I think he did it in Pennsylvania as well, but I don't know where that case went. Yeah, you can't give out food in an election line in my state. Yeah, state by state is different. But in most states, yes, there are federal restrictions on electioneering that make it so that you can't wear like political messaging at all. He won it and the state dropped it. He skirted the Penn case by revealing he had rigged the game. Hey, can you please let YouTube know that I have permission to operate a fan channel? They termed as a penalty, they deleted another unrelated channel. I am not allowed to own any YouTube channels ever. Thanks for your help. What the fuck? Okay, I'll look at this in a little bit. He got sued by the Philly DA in Pennsylvania, and the DA lost the case because he said it was not a random lottery. Elon Musk's 1 million election giveaway wasn't an illegal lottery. According to Musk, however, voters were told they would be reviewed for an opportunity to earn the $1 million by becoming America PAC spokespeople. This, Musk said, defeated any notion that the money was a prize to be won. Make no mistake, an eligible voter's opportunity to earn is not the same thing as a chance to win. Chance, he added, was not involved here. God, I fucking hate this country so much. This is literally, this unironically is the same like defamation suit that was launched against Elon Musk that was lost in an American court against that British diver in Thailand when he called him a fucking pedophile. And then he won that defamation suit, Elon did, by saying, oh, pedophile is actually not meant as a pejorative because I'm South African. And in South Africa, we call everybody pedophiles. It's just pure pay to win. God damn it, I fucking hate this. Yeah, he won that defamation suit by saying, basically stating that as a South African, he didn't, you know how Australians say cunt? South Africans say pedophile. And it's not meant to mean someone who diddles with children. But yeah, it was a lie. I know that it's not like a common thing to call your friends pedophiles in South Africa, chatters. I know. No, Vivian has not come on yet. She's going to come on later, okay? At 5 p.m. In 5 minutes, I'm going to be interviewing a doctor from Cuba, though. Musk also rejected the suggestion the petition signers suffered harm by providing their names, addresses, and phone numbers, which they said Musk and America PAC could then sell. Yeah, fantastic stuff, man.
While billionaire Elon Musk announced that he awarded $1 million to a voter in Green Bay ahead of the election on Tuesday. Musk made the announcement last night. He's been a big donor to Judge Schimmel. Judge Crawford's campaign has blasted the payment, saying that Musk is trying to, quote, illegally buy influence in a state where Tesla has a lawsuit pending, which could end up in court.
We have to issue the notice for...
Anyway, fantastic, awesome, incredible.
More fallout.
There's also a MAGA voter that sent a message to Trump in CNN interview, and I am going to... Oh, they're ready, actually. You know what? I'm going to call in right now. As a matter of fact, I watched the CNN. It's a segment. It sucks ass. Okay, hold on. Hold on, chat. Hold on. Okay, let's get it going. All right, let's get started. Okay. All right. Microphone, roadcaster, speakers. Okay, let's do it. Hello.
Hello.
What's going on, guys? 1 second. I'm going to put you on my screen. You're live already. They can hear you, but before we do that, I'm just going to try and really quickly put you up on the screen. Very excited to have you here.
Thank you for having
today.
us.
Boom. Okay. I think this works. All right. Hold on. All right. Okay. You guys can start talking if you want. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to have two esteemed guests here with me today on the broadcast. We got Danny Valdez from DSA and Dr. Jose A. Aronte. Am I saying that right? I'm sorry. How do I?
It's okay.
How do I say
Jose
it?
Armando Aronte. Yes.
Okay, Dr. Armando Aronte. Doctor, you're in Cuba right now, I believe. Right? You're right.
Yes, I am in Cuba, yes.
Yes. So Dr. Aronte actually, as far as I understand, did medical missions with the Cuban government, both. And you have also spent time in Chicago too, right?
Yes, it's true, Hassan. Yeah, I was there in 2017.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that you were in America. Well, I guess it's gotten significantly worse since then, even. But Doctor, today I wanted to talk to you, and I want to thank DSA once again for arranging this this interview. But I wanted to talk to you today because Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, is currently in Jamaica and is actively trying to undermine the work that doctors such as yourself and the Cuban government is doing all around the world with these medical missions. And before we get into that specifically, I wanted to ask if you could describe these medical missions to those who might not know in my community.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for having me. And let me tell you that the cooperation, the International Medical Corporation of Cuba, started in 1963 in Gilead. Then we have been working abroad the country for more than 60 years. Specifically in Jamaica, I was working in Jamaica too. I was there since 2018, 2022. For me, it was a very important experience because we were working there. We have been working with the Cuban medical team there in the 4 regions of the country, of the island, and providing medical care to the primary care levels and the hospitals, and even in the institute, the Cancer Center Institute and others. I remember in my experience in Jamaica in 2020 that when the COVID-19 pandemic, we received in only 7 days a medical team, Henry Reef Brigade, that was sent from Cuba with almost 140 Cuban health professionals. For Jamaica, it was a very important support because the health professionals of Jamaica, they were on that moment lack of health professional in different hospitals, in different health centers, and the Cuban medical team was a very important support for them.
Absolutely.
Regarding to the experience of the ideas that the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is talking about, that human trafficking and others ideas, of course, I not agree with him, because just if you are going to talk about human trafficking, just there are three conditions that are very important. The first one is that you don't know the country or the place where you're going to be taken. That is not the case of the Cuban health professional, because of course we know before departure the place where we're going to work, the country where we're going to work. Then condition is not included in the classification. And the second one is just they are not allowed. They don't receive any payment. Let me tell you something that is very important to talk about this. When we go to work abroad the country to provide medical care to other peoples, we receive the whole salary in Cuba for our families. And in the countries that we are going to work, we receive a stipend. That is important just for the housing, of course, accommodation, the foods and others, other things that we need. But we receive them. The second one, that we are not paying, is not important, of course, not classified. And the third one is that when the human trafficking, the people can't move. Of course, when we are working in different countries, we can move to different places. Some of the country, of course, for the safety of the Cuban health professional, we try to make a control and just to be sure, but for our own safety in those countries. Then the three conditions are not included in this program, the International Medical Cooperation.
Yeah, and I just want to add that we see this over and over again when you're in the Cuba Solidarity movement. Cuba does something incredibly solidaristic to the rest of the world by sending medical professionals, some of the best in the world, for almost nothing. And what happens is the U.S. and its imperial allies and all that cynically cast it in the worst possible light and try to undermine it in every way possible. And part of that is because they don't want the example of Cuba out there in the world, but secondarily, they're actively seeking to undermine very important sources of funding for Cuba. We see that with the blockade overall, but now in the news recently, specifically with these medical missions, a long-standing hallmark of the Cuban, revolution and the way that it does its approach to governing, right, is I think really well embodied in the medical missions. And of course, the U.S. is just really cynical framing of it is just awful.
Yeah. They're lying in the simplest terms.
Yeah.
They're lying. And of course, they've always lied. I think if I were to approach this from a humorous lens, I think maybe it's because America doesn't understand the concept of exporting medical aid. They only know the concept of exporting weapons, bombs, and death dealing. Or rather, America also doesn't understand the concept of having Chatters. I know my microphone is low. Can you please stop? Oh my God, I'm sorry. Embarrassing. There's 35,000.
Behave yourselves, chat. Behave yourselves. Come on.
America also does not understand the concept of socialized medicine in general, and I think this is part of the problem here because hold on, I'm gonna fix my microphone in a second because everyone is crying in the chat. But the reason why I say this is because you, doctor, you got your education paid for, I suspect, by the Cuban government, right?
Yes. Yes. Of course, in Cuba, it's a universal educational program. Of course, like a universal health coverage, covering the 100% of the population. And my parents, they were not rich persons, and I studied, but my medical studies were paid by the government, of course, and that's common in Cuba. Just let me tell you something. In Cuba, in 1959, we have had only one medical school, and the leaders of the revolution, they understood very well that was necessary to graduate many health professionals. And then at the end of the last year, we have in Cuba 13 medical sciences school, 29 faculty of medical sciences, and the National School of Public Health, and the Latin American School of Public Health, where we have been graduating more than 30,000 medical doctors for different countries, including the United States of America.
Yeah. Like I said, Americans don't understand the concept of socialized medicine. They don't understand the concept of a free education either. So in their minds, and I'm sure you know this already because since you've been in Chicago, and I do want to ask you about your experiences in America, especially as a Cuban person living in Cuba. They think there's a common thing that Americans say where it's like, oh, nationalize healthcare. That means we're going to enslave our doctors. Our doctors are going to be properties of the state. We can't have that. We must let the free market do its thing. What do you have to say to that?
Well, let me tell you that we feel in Cuba totally free. And then we, for example, when we go to work abroad the country in a mission, medical mission, we are as volunteers. Nobody is forced. The government is not forced us to work abroad the country. And even in Cuba, when we are going to work to a rural area, because at the beginning, the first years of the revolution, 1959, usually we have in Cuba 6,000 medical doctors. But at the end of the last year, we have more than 80,000 medical doctors. Then we are working not only in the large city, even in the rural, very remote area. Then we feel like that we are not property of nobody. And then the health system is covering 100%, as I said before, and totally free. The medical care is totally free. Then it's covered by the government, the state too.
Yeah, I find it really interesting when people use that whole slaves of the state thing, because it's like that's what nationalized healthcare is, right? Like they're not slaves of the state, they are servants. And they're employed by the country's foremost public institution to do public good. And I think you're right, Hassan, like that is something that is so foreign to Americans that most people just like, oh, there must be some nefarious plot going on underneath or something like that. But the remarkable thing about Cuba and its successes, not just in medicine, but like across the board, like you compare Cuba to any first world country, and they're usually on par. And they do, when you think about the little we do with so much and how much Cuba is able to do with so little, and the reason they have so little is broad and complicated, but it's really remarkable when you think about it on those terms, how just a little bit of public investment and social good can really create a society and a culture where people have the things that they need. And that's the basic premise that they operate from.
I remember when I was working with the partnership as part of the team that traveled to US, to Chicago, Illinois, because the partnership with the University of Illinois and the Minister of Public Health in Cuba, I remember that we were thinking that we will face a very high developed health system covering 100% of the population. And really, I have to say that we were shocked when we saw many women that never saw OB/GYN or any medical doctor during
OB/GYN.
Yeah, OB/GYN. Or the medical doctor, a general medical doctor during the pregnancy period. And then for us, it was a shock because we were in shock because that's normal in Cuba. And then in Cuba, we see the pregnant women many times, even more than the World Health Organization requirement. And then we saw in Chicago, the African American community, we saw many women that during that period it was impossible for them to see a dentistry. That's and then one of the costs of the low weight children when they born is just the sepsis and the infection of the health of the, and then that's for us that's why we was shocked for us that and many people that we saw there, even that they arrived to the health center or a hospital, and then as they had not medical insurance, they were not received. They didn't receive the patient even with a chronic trauma, and then that was an experience for us. We were very impressed, but of course, because in Cuba, even with all the challenges that we are facing every day, the situation is very different. You have the medical doctor in your community, and the medical doctor and the nurse live within the community, that they are providing medical care. If you go straight to the hospital, it's that secondary level of the medical care. The health system takes you to the level that you need, or even if you go straight to the institute, the tertiary level, even the health system move you just to the level that you need.
What are some of the major challenges that Cubans are facing right now, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, the first challenge, the first one, is the blockade that was imposed by the government of the U.S. For more than 60 years. And recently, including Cuba, our country my country in the list of countries sponsors of the terrorism. Just to have an idea, after the decision of the inclusion, well, you know that including Cuba, go out Cuba, and including again, that's like a game of children.
Yeah.
It's not serious. That's my opinion. But after that decision, the first time, on the first week, more than 30 banks worldwide stopped all the transactions with Cuba. Even on the next days, 45 banks. That you know that it's not possible for us. For the health system, for example, as a result of that decision, we have been facing many challenges. Our population, well, the life expectancy in Cuba more than before COVID-19 was 78.45, but this moment 77.1. But our people is we are moving the structure of the population, and then we have more elderly people, and then they have chronic diseases, they need medication, and then Cuba is able. Pharmaceutical industry that has been developing in Cuba, we are able to produce the 62% of the medication, the drug that we are the basic word of the clinic, the drugs that we use in Cuba. But it's impossible because we can't receive credit from different countries, and then it's impossible to get the thing that we need to produce. But that's the most important challenge that we are facing.
Yeah, from what I recall, if I recall correctly, during COVID, there was a need for even vials being shipped into Cuba for the COVID vaccine that you had, the Cuban government had developed, and that the trade embargo placed unjustifiable restrictions on even something like that, which was a major setback, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes, is that correct? Even during COVID-19 pandemic, the measure of the government, the embargo, the blockade of the government of the United States was hard that before, even on that moment. It was impossible for us to get the vaccines, and then we have to produce our own vaccine. We produced 5 candidates. 3 of them were approved by the regulatory authorities that we have in Cuba, and it was possible for us to stop the pandemic in our population. Even with that biopharmaceutical industry, we produced more than 70% of the drugs that we use in the protocols for the treatment of the COVID-19 with our own resources, and of course, based on the primary health care, medical, the more than 11,000 doctors' office that we have at the primary care level, covering the 100% of the population. It's important just to mention the Vance ventilator, the ventilator, the lung for the respiratory ventilators that even was impossible for us to acquire then because the government of the U.S. put the sanction to the factories and the shipping lines that were trying to bring to Cuba. And then we have to produce our own ventilators. It's easy to mention that right now, but it was a very hard. We have to face a very hard situation on the moment with our main factory to produce oxygen was broken in the middle, in the peak of the pandemic, and then we have to look for the alternative challenge, different possibilities, just to try to solve and to diminish. Even on that condition, the mortality rate was lower than many developing countries worldwide.
Yeah, and I just want to reinforce a few things, because the number one thing I hear, or let's say the two things I hear when I talk to Americans, even progressive and people about the U.S. blockade or the embargo, or whatever you want to call it, is one, the most common one is, didn't Obama end the embargo? That's the most common one I hear. And the second one I hear is, oh, it's just affecting Cuba's trade with the United States. Why can't they trade with all the other countries all over the world? And the truth is, when you have the global economic hegemon sanctioning and threatening sanctions against people who do business with your island because they're on a state sponsor of terrorism lists, or whatever other set of sanctions or whatever BS they want to make up, it has extra national effects outside of the US and Cuba. And so, like those ventilators, I believe that that the doctor mentioned, were coming from Sweden, and the US had no involvement in that. But most of the money that flows through the world, because of the way the global banking system is set up through SWIFT and other things, most of the money goes through the United States. And the United States has actually sanctioned other countries and entities and companies in other countries because of that. So I think, like, Cuba is a country that has no credit on the global credit market. They're cut off. You tell me what country in the world could exist and function normally under a circumstance like that. And that's just one effect of that the embargo has. And you see here with the doctor, what the doctor's saying, it has impacts from the micro to the macro, right? Like it is a policy designed to starve out the people of Cuba. And the designated purpose of the blockade is regime change, right? They want the people of Cuba to be so desperate that they change their government. But in 65 years, that has failed miserably as a policy outcome. So why are we continuing to do this? And if it is true that the Cuban government is corrupt or socialism is deemed to fail, why do we have this comprehensive set of policies to strangle out this one island nation 90 miles to our south? That could be a very fruitful trading partner to us, frankly. Like, farmers in the South would love to sell their products to Cuba and buy Cuban products. Like, we can't get the best rum and cigars in the world because of the embargo, right?
It's not just that.
There are lots of things.
There's a major issue in terms of medicine as well. Obviously,
yes.
Cuba has created a lung cancer vaccine, and that Americans actually have to illegally go to Cuba and get this lung cancer vaccine, as far as I understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is the American government makes it illegal to go and get this lung cancer vaccine.
Yeah, so the opportunities for medical cooperation are huge. And the fact that like Dr. Arronte went to Chicago and participated in seeing those patients, and a lot of them saying, hey, this is the first time I've ever had a doctor see me about any of these issues. Like there's so much opportunity, if you want to look at it from like a business point of view or a more like normie point of view, there's so much opportunity that's just being wasted for an totally outdated policy that is causing mass suffering. That's what's happening in Cuba. I think like rightfully Gaza gets a lot of attention, but also we should be looking at what's happening in Cuba because it's a different tentacle of the same monster, right? And enacting a slow motion genocide. But when you deny access to food, to basic staples, to medicine, through economic coercion of Cuba and other countries, what else do you call that? I mean, there's very little room for interpretation there, in my opinion.
Let me tell you something regarding to the inclusion of Cuba on the sponsor list of the sponsor of terrorist countries. Do you really think that the country that is able to do a product for other peoples worldwide have seen more than 2,300 million of patients in other countries, or 70 million of surgeries, or 5 million of deliveries? Our health professionals are working abroad the country in other countries. We have been saving life, more than 12 million of life that have been saved by the Cuban health professionals. That is not a country, a terrorist country, of course. On the other hand, as I said before, our pharmaceutical industry produced the lung cancer vaccine. Even there is a clinical trial, the Roswell Park Institute in New York, but it's a vaccine that is produced in Cuba. How many patients in the United States of America could be able to receive that type of treatment if the relation between both people could be different? We have, for example, another one, medication that we produce in Cuba, Everpro-P, for the prevention of the amputation in the diabetic foot ulcer, and we produce for many years in Cuba, and we are applying in different countries, but not in the U.S. Well, it's really many opportunities of bilateral cooperation, just trying to improve the health of the people, both sides of the both countries.
Yeah, America is the terrorist country.
We're the bad guys. Sorry,
I'm saying that. I think that, and I believe that. I think it is.
And once again, like I said at the outset, it's so cynical to label Cuba like one of the most solidaristic countries in the world as a sponsor of terror. It's like an additional slap in the face on top of everything else. And every year at the UN for the past 32 years, Cuba presents a resolution to condemn and end the U.S. embargo. And the last couple of years in a row, there have only been 2 countries to vote no again on that resolution. Can you guess the 2 of them? It's your 2 favorite countries, Hassan.
Let me guess. Israel and the United States of America.
Exactly right. Those
Shocking.
are the only 2 countries that vote negative on that resolution. And that, I think, honestly, I don't need to say anything else on the matter. I think that very succinctly wraps up where the imperial allegiances lie in that case.
All right. I want to, before I let you guys go, and thank you so much for coming on. And I was initially going to join. I'm trying to fix my audio levels while I'm speaking because Google is constantly trying to lower my audio levels here. But I was slated to visit Cuba with a legal mission, like a legal aid mission last year, but then a bunch of stuff happened and the election happened, so I couldn't do it. And I hope to visit one day.
Come with DSA. We do delegations now almost every year. We'd love to have you on the delegation.
One question I had for the doctor is when you were in Chicago, did you have deep dish pizza and did you have a Chicago dog?
Well, let me tell you, the most important is the relationship that we were able to make with the health professional, with the people. Of course, Chicago is a beautiful city, and we enjoy the lake.
But did you have deep dish pizza?
Well, I don't remember exactly, but the most important is the people and the health professional that we met there at the health center or the University of Illinois. For me, it was, as I said, amazing.
What was one aspect of American culture that shocked you that you didn't expect?
Well, during the time that we have been working there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure, but many people, they were asking us, please, can you stay for more time? Because we need to work together. And then the feeling that we felt, it was the cooperation feeling, not to reject. Even our English, it was not, of course, it's not our mother language, but was possible the communication. It was possible the communication, and then we were feeling both sides of the partnership. We were feeling very well, and the people, of course, we are the leaders of the community. The people that we visited were, for us, it was very important. For me, it was the first time. It was the first time that we saw the medical insurance health system. The medical insurance system, different type of medical insurance. Of course, as
it shocked you?
In Cuba, this is totally free and say, but even on that condition, we say that the team that were working there, we said that was working there, we said, okay, even on that condition, it's possible the cooperation, it's possible to improve the health level of the population.
Yeah,
learning both sides of the cooperation.
Yeah, there are many parts of this country where foreign NGOs actually come in that normally work in war-torn countries or very poor countries in Africa that come in and actually have to offer medical missions for free, just like the Cuban medical missions, as a matter of fact. There are nonprofits that work specifically in places like West Virginia because that's how dire the conditions are in the wealthiest country on the planet.
Yeah.
Okay. I have another joke question. Yoel Romero, what happened with that guy? Is this Cuban medicine?
It was a fighter, a boxing fighter that were training in Cuba, of course, and now we see him fighting in the different type of competition in US.
Yeah. Joe Rogan. Do you know who Joe Rogan is, Doctor? Do you know Joe Rogan he's a podcaster, very famous podcaster in America. He says Yoel Romero is a freak of nature. He's like unlike anything anyone has ever seen before.
Trained in Cuba, baby.
Yeah. The other person is I don't know how to say his name, but it's Mijain Lopez.
Okay, well, that's a symbol for us.
Yes.
No, 5 times gold medal in 5 Olympic games.
He's incredible.
Yes, he's incredible. Yes.
What are they?
Yes,
what are they putting in the water in Cuba?
It's called universal public access healthcare. That's what it's called. That's what's in the water there.
He had a very good family doctors and a nurse at the community where he lived in Pinar del Rio.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope to one day see you in person when I come visit Cuba.
And Hassan, before we go, I would be remiss as an organizer if I didn't make the hard ask. If this is just a small example of what DSA does around the country, We have an international committee where we have partnerships with countries all over the world and relationships with them. There's local work that you can do. There's electoral work. There's building the labor movement. If you're frustrated with the current state of Democrats plus in the U.S., you need a political home. Please, please, please. I couldn't recommend being in DSA enough. There's a lot of work ahead of us. We need to be organized around it. So go to joindsa.org. That's the easiest way to become a member. If you're not, yes, you will pay dues, but that keeps us independent. That keeps us doing the things that we need to do. So please join DSA if you have not. We need all 33,000 of you in this chat to join DSA so that we can
absolutely
get this country to a better place altogether.
Absolutely.
And that includes you, Hassan.
Yeah.
Become a dues-paying member.
Doctor, do you have a final message to America, the Americans that are listening right now?
Sorry.
Do you have a final message that
Yes.
you want to impart with us?
Let me tell you something. It's very important. On April, since 21st to 25th April, we will have in Cuba the Health International Convention, Cuba Salud 2025. It's a huge function that we scientific convention, or many delegations from different countries, Ministry of Public Health, and many delegations, including the United States of America. Every 3 years we do that, and then we will invite you to the Health Convention, International Convention, Cuba Salud. Yes.
When is that?
And all the people, of course, all the people that are connected on this moment, and all the person that you know, maybe we should share with you the program and the orientation program for the important activity that we do in Cuba.
I mean, importantly, like going to Cuba,
it's a very good opportunity to visit know about that.
No, I want to. The biggest problem for me is the internet. Because what I do requires like constant internet access, and it becomes really difficult because of the sanctions and things that we talked about before. Unfortunately, that's what I have to figure out. But I've been working on it, but I will do it for sure. Because most people go and they vlog, but I do live streaming, so it's in real time, like a real time newscasting. But definitely, it's something that I'm working on right now. Also, your site crashed, Danny.
Oh well,
yeah,
that's your fault, probably.
Yeah, not probably. Yes, it is my fault. It is.
Yes, we may have crashed the joindsa.org, but we will keep trying. I'm actually in the chat almost every day. I'm Cosmic Yawn in the chat, so if anybody wants to DM me or whatever, I'm happy to talk about DSA, about joining DSA, whatever, and I will spam links also in there once we're done here. So
yeah,
really appreciate you having us on.
All right,
Hassan.
thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much. You too, man.
All right, that was very annoying on my end because of the Google Meetup restrictions that are virtually impossible to fix. I have been looking to try to fix it, but that was amazing. That was an amazing interview, and I hope you guys appreciated that. It's really important to be able to do these kinds of. It's really important to be able to have these kinds of conversations and directly talk to people that are on the other side of America's cruel sanctions regime, trade embargo, and. I know my microphone was low, legit Josh. You are pissing me off. Also, my mom, classic, came in and had to try and talk to me in the middle of this conversation that I was having. Luckily, you guys didn't hear it, but it's so funny. It's just, I feel like I'm chopped liver over here. Nobody respects me. My family doesn't respect me and what I do. My audience doesn't respect me and what I do. What the fuck is this? What am I doing? Everybody shut up, okay? Jesus Christ. Oh, but yeah, it is pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy that America is a supervillain on this planet. It truly is it truly is like that. Like, it's not, there's no other way to put it. Like, we are genuinely, like, what we have done to Cuba alone is unimaginable cruelty. This is why I say America bad, okay? There's a good reason for it. This is that reason. Anyway, here is the big man himself. Says, our country does not drop bombs on other people, nor does it send thousands of planes to bomb cities. Our country does not have nuclear weapons. Our country does not have chemical weapons. Our country does not have biological weapons. One day I said that we could never and would never carry out surprise attacks against any lost corner of the world. But instead, our country will send necessary doctors to those lost corners of the world. Doctors, not bombs. Doctors, not smart weapons that hit their target. Because after all, doctors, a weapon that kills by treachery is absolutely not an intelligent weapon. Why do people like people dislike Castro even on the left? Because they're fucking stupid. They're stupid American donkeys. Okay? That's why. Because they're stupid Western chauvinist piglets with a stupid pig brain. There's no other way to put it. It is an endless amount of propaganda that they just ate up and never checked for themselves, that instead of entertaining the notion that all of that fucking propaganda was wrong, they just double down and angrily lash out and continue playing a role in the demise of the Cuban people. And yet the Cuban people, in the face of such imaginable cruelty, survive over and over again after decades and decades of violence. It is disgusting. Cuba is pretty close to a perfect victim. No state is. No state is perfect. But I would say that the Cuban state in and of itself, and the history of Cuba and the Cuban state in the way that it exists is fairly close to a perfect victim after all that has happened to the Cuban people for the crime of freeing themselves from the shackles of oppression by an American-backed dictator. I hated Cuba growing up because they wanted me to hate Cuba. We were never taught about anything about Cuba except the missile crisis and the Bay of Pigs, and that's it. It's so scary how much power people have over information. Yeah. I mean, Marco Rubio is Cuban. Oh man, I forgot to ask the doctor about about Gusano. Anyway, that was the other thing that I wanted to ask him. Instead, I asked him about Yoel Romero. What do I have to say to someone who had to flee Cuba? I mean, it depends on which time period does someone flee Cuba. Okay, fleed Cuba. The reality of the matter is the situation in Cuba is still not great. Okay, it's not like paradise. Obviously, it's not paradise. A big part of the reason why it's not paradise, or the entire reason why it's not paradise when it could be, is because of the sanctions regime and the embargo that we're talking about. Like, Cuba has issues with food, for example. Cuba has consistently had issues with famine, especially post Cold War, post dissolution of the USSR, which then eradicated their primary trade partner, right? And in that process, like, they've of course always had issues with electricity and maintaining a proper electricity grid, and having enough energy for everyone. Cuba has infrastructure issues. Cuba has issues with famine. Every single one of these problems could be solved if Cuba was allowed to participate in the normal ways that every other country participates in the global marketplace. Every single one of these issues would be solved. Every single one. The fact that they are able to survive and thrive, even, all things considered, in spite of that major restriction, is a testament to the resilience of the Cuban population, and is also, in my opinion, a testament to what could happen if Cuba was allowed to participate in the market in the same ways that every other country can. Anyway, as far as like people who have escaped Cuba, even recently escaped, like left Cuba to come to America, okay, what the fuck are we talking about? Escape. They didn't escape Cuba. They voluntarily left Cuba to go live somewhere else, whether it be America or another country. Okay, we don't say Ana de Armas escaped Cuba. Like, that's such a, that language in and of itself That language in and of itself is Western chauvinism. Think about how deeply embedded this power dynamic in our understanding of other countries is, that we fucking, even people who don't intend to do Western chauvinist propaganda end up reasserting Western imperialist narratives. Like, think about how insane that is. It was one of the most disgusting things that the Biden administration did on his way out. One day out, the last day of his power, he dropped the embargo on Cuba. Like a fuck you. It would have been better if he didn't even do that at all. He had the power to do so every day of his administration. And every single person that suffered as a consequence of that directly suffered because of him. Y'all Romero's and the Olympic defectors really muddied the waters on that point. Yeah, just like the 7,000 doctors that got their visas in America, right? Yes, dude. If you are in a poor nation, if you're in a poor country, okay, a country that is kept poor deliberately by the most powerful nation on the fucking planet that is directly swimming distance from that country, and you see an opportunity for economic improvement, you're gonna take it. Look at people in Mexico. Mexicans go over the border and come to America too. That's it. The entire purpose of this embargo is so that the Cuban economy and the Cuban population suffers, so that we can have a steady flow of propaganda against a successful socialist revolutionary nation. That's it. That's it. Anyway, why do people always get so mad about the 2-year unpaid medical service thing in Cuba? Because Americans are pigs, okay? And they cannot envision, just like a dog can't understand colors, just like a pig can't look up in the fucking night sky and see the stars, Americans can't envision a world where doctors get paid to learn medicine and then for 2 years work to pay back their debt. This happens in every country with fucking national healthcare services. My country that I came from in Turkey has a similar process as well. Good luck explaining that to the average American. But while a pig can't look up in the night sky and see stars, a pig can still dream. And hopefully, one day, I can make these American pigs dream of a better future. Anyway, yeah, 32 years in a fucking row, dude. Look at this. Overwhelmingly, the United Nations votes again and again and again to end the U.S. embargo on Cuba. Countries that voted against it: United States, Israel. Abstention, fucking Moldova. Am I crazy or did your audio change? Yes, it increased. Anyway, it's a strategic move, man. Yeah, okay. What if all the other countries in the world united against you strategically and said Russia should be able to take Moldova because Transnistria is Russian territory and so is Moldova? It's just, you know, greater Transnistria. What would you say then? Would you be on board with that? Would you go, oh, well, the other countries are strategically aligning themselves with Russia. Fuck it. Maybe Trump will give Moldova to Russia, you know? Anyway. Are the repercussions of committing crimes in Cuba really that insane, or is it just American propaganda? I don't know what you're talking about. Who still defends the embargo? America does. That's it. Yeah, we live in America. The punishment for crimes is worse here than anyone else, anywhere else on earth. Yeah, I don't say, when I'm talking about America, there's no reason to say and Israel, because America is Israel. Israel is America. It's one and the same. Israel's an extension of United States empire. Anyway, let's move on from this. I will be talking to Vivian in an hour from now. I guess we could do like a Hakeem video or something. Oh, I didn't turn off my my window on this page. Okay. We can start off with the first off video, the U.S. empire in decline. Let's do that.
The United States empire.
Murders. Crime. It's chaotic. It is a mess.
After 100-year rise up.
We have this international crisis.
If this system continues without reform, I think there is a very real possibility of violence and potentially a split in the United States.
The US empire is collapsing, and the world is already paying the price. Trillions of dollars wasted on endless wars with shifting goalposts and no exit strategy. Add to this a crumbling economic foundation and a desperate scramble to maintain global dominance, and what you have are all the familiar signs of imperial decline. Spain spent its silver on military campaigns it couldn't afford. Britain exhausted itself trying to hold on to its expansive empire. And now, the US is burning through resources apparently trying to speedrun the apocalypse. Empires end suddenly, but collapse slowly. The US is no different. It isn't just losing its grip on global power, it's setting the stage to allow chaos to flourish. The only question now is, how long will the world suffer for the US's sins? Before we dive in, we'd like to take a quick moment to thank our channel sponsor, Aura. And actually, it's a really important time to talk about them because hackers may have just stolen the social security numbers of every American. Over 2.9 billion records were recently stolen from National Public Data, which provides personal information to employers, private investigators, staffing agencies, and others doing background checks. These stolen records include a person's full name, address, date of birth, social security number and phone number, alternate names, and birth date. And members of the hacker group have released this information for free online. If you've never been the victim of a data breach before, let me tell you, it's not fun. That stuff is scary, as well as being very intrusive. If you weren't taking precautions with your personal information online before, this should be a huge wake-up call. You've never been more vulnerable online than you are right now. Thankfully, I don't have to worry about it because Aura protects me from this exact scenario. Aura alerts me if they find my phone number, email, or social security number on the dark web. They let me know immediately if anyone tries to use this information to access my credit or bank accounts. And for added peace of mind, they provide up to $5 million in identity theft insurance should the worst case scenario happen. They also have a bunch of other features to keep you safe, all inside one app, so you don't have to go looking for a bunch of different services for your VPN, your antivirus, and your data security. You can use the link aura.com/firstthought to try 14 days absolutely free. That's plenty of time for Aura to find out if any of your personal data has been exposed. I highly recommend you do this right now, because not only is National Public Data not going to do anything to help us, they probably aren't even going to face any repercussions for this leak. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches. And if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/firstthought to try Aura for 2 weeks absolutely free. Okay, back to the video. Many empires throughout history have come and gone, but two in particular stand out as being eerily similar to today. The Spanish Empire of the 16th and 17th centuries, and the British Empire of the 18th and 19th which replaced it, the Napoleonic era aside. Then the US Empire replaced the British. So let's take a look at what lessons the US should learn from these former global powers. The Spanish Empire was mostly split between Europe and the Americas, which quickly pulled it into wars it could not afford. By 1619, the king's chief minister warned that overlapping conflicts had brought Spain to the brink. The king concocted a Union of Arms scheme, which aimed to mobilize 140,000 troops, an outrageous number for the time, across far-flung territories. Instead, the decree ignited local resistance due to the large burden it placed on townspeople and nobles alike. In 1627, the crown declared bankruptcy, obliterating credit and forcing steep interest loans. The following year, the Dutch seized an entire treasure fleet loaded with American gold and silver, which drastically slashed revenues and stalled military operations, followed by weaker silver shipments which further stalled military operations, and repeating on in a spiral of diminishing returns. And what did Spain have to show for this expensive, unending warfare? A lot of lost territory. They lost northern Catalonia, Portugal, Jamaica, and even parts of the Netherlands. Overwhelming debt, a hollowed-out domestic economy, and an unshakable faith in the idea that war was their best defense defined the Habsburg abysmal finances, with grandiose strategies that yielded nothing but loss. Philip IV spent 44 years mired in entirely optional conflicts against the Dutch, Germans, Italians, French, the British twice, and on the Iberian Peninsula, Spain's home turf. While Spain tried to retain its colonies, extreme climate events and earthquakes devastated Chile, Peru, and Mexico, only adding to the strain caused by the wars. The king's management of Spain's coinage was incompetent at best. Vellon coins, introduced in 1618, were silver coins that contained less valuable metals like copper, which debased the currency. adding to the inflation caused by a surge in silver imports from the colonies, which severely disrupted local markets and shrunk the crown's income. And even though silver shipments got leaner over time, silver still surged into Spain relative to historic levels of silver inflow which started the inflation. Silver became a sort of resource curse that stymied real growth. While Spain's GDP had once greatly outpaced other regions, it had fallen 40% behind those same regions by 1750. Though American gold and silver financed imperial wars, they bred illusions of prosperity that sapped the homeland's economic core. Earlier monarchs had brought the nobility to heel, but by the 16th century, the crown was drowning in high-interest debt. Spain's
Did I miss the news? Are we only doing reacts today? Yes, we're only doing reacts today. Come back tomorrow. We've never done the news. It's 5 hours into the fucking broadcast. I not only covered news for the past 4 hours, I also interviewed a Cuban doctor about medical missions that the Cuban government does. And the moment that I flip over to like reacts from a friend of the show about how the U.S. empire is in decline, immediately it's like, I guess we're not doing news today. I guess we're not doing news today, huh? What's happening here? What's going on? No more news? Do we run out of fucking news?
Fragmented and inadequate taxes, coupled with entrenched conservative nobles, stifled modernization. Chronic debt defaults eroded trust.
If you don't want me to scream at you, you're demanding that I don't treat you as equals. You're demanding that I just refuse you, ignore you, and do my own thing. If you want me to have a back and forth with chat, I'm gonna fucking sometimes scream at you because I expect you to be smarter than this.
While elites opposed any new taxes or reforms in order to protect their exemptions and status. These dynamics echo modern imperial overreach. A ballooning defense budget diverts funds away from essential investments like healthcare and infrastructure, leading to long-term instability. Now we'll move on to the British Empire, which, save for the whole Napoleon thing, was the empire to succeed Spain in Europe and possibly the first global hegemon. Despite losing the American colonies in the late 18th century, the British Empire would nonetheless grow and kickstart the first industrial revolution. But by the 1870s, global capitalism had begun to face a crisis. In 1889, a US analyst noted severe economic distress touching almost every nation on Earth, regardless of policies. Some might assume this would be a recipe for a major drop in production, but they'd be wrong. Production absolutely soared. Iron doubled, steel rose 20-fold, but profits lagged as tends to happen during capitalist overproduction. Before the stock market crash of 1929 took the moniker, the period between 1873 and 1896 was called the Great Depression, and it's easy to see why. Agriculture took the biggest hit. Wheat prices plunged nearly 2/3 from 1867 to 1894, which prompted Britain to abandon much of its grain farming. During this 23-year depression, the pound experienced significant deflation, which cut British prices by 40%, further eating into profit margins. New industrial processes rapidly produced far more in less time. Quickly.
What is this? Russia thanks you in this video. The Yemeni people want peace. The Palestinian people asked them to send aid to Gaza, stop the Israeli aggression, lift their siege. Israel's killing children and committing all sorts of crimes. The Yemeni people stood against this, which is why America is now targeting the Yemeni. I know Zoran's team reached out to me. I'm talking to Zoran directly on Twitter. I don't know why his team is reaching out to me on Instagram. I'll deal with it. He said 72 sirens around many places, but we will not be scared. It's not the video yet? What do you mean? He's saying America and Israel will not phase us. He's saying they keep hitting the same targets for 10 years plus. We're never afraid of them or scared. Can you even speak Arabic? No, I can't. We are used to it. U.S. and Israel has been hitting us since 2011, he says. Why Yemen? Because Yemen is demanding lifting the siege and stopping the oppression. Right. Oh, no. Oh, that's crazy. He's got the fucking Zin canisters in the back. Oh, my Lord, dude. Oh, wow. Oh, Jesus Christ. The internet is crazy. He's saying we say to America and Israel what this person said. Oh no.
هذا طبعا أجنبي، هذا أكثر واحد وقف مع اليمن وفلسطين، هذا بينشر ويظهر الحقيقة. تحياتي لك يا حسن. Thank you, I love you so much.
Oh no. The internet, man. The internet is crazy. Asman Girl's gonna freak out more. I know. I worry about stuff like this because, I mean, yeah, of course people are gonna fucking yell at me and be like, dude, see, this guy is a terrorist and he is terrorizing us by showing a photo of you. But no, what I worry about is like I don't think he realizes this. He said this is a foreigner who has done so much to support Palestine and Yemen. Hell yeah. I worry that this kind of stuff like puts him in threat. You know what I mean? I love that photo though. I mean, he isn't afraid. I know, but I still am, you know? These are genuine calculations I have to make when talking to people in Gaza as well, especially. It's like something that I truly have to worry about. You know, I saw he he said he sent this ominous tweet before. Watch my account carefully, Hassan. I will post something for you in a few hours. I think him being in Yemen is more of a threat than that picture. No, dude. It's because he's in Yemen that is already a threat. If he was in Denmark putting up a picture like that, it wouldn't be the same thing. Come on, guys. Barry Weiss literally ordered the assassination of Refat al-Ra'ar, like in Gaza, you know? He sent a second secret photo of the Hoscord. Yeah. They're going to cancel Rashid for... They're going to cancel Rashid because he's supporting me. Not because... They're not even going to say he's a terrorist any longer. It's a higher crime. Being a Hasanabi head. This guy's real problematic, Rashid. I don't know if you knew that. Oh, man. Is chat not aware that the secret president was beefing with you? Yeah, that's what I mean.
Damn, this guy's good.